We're taking away the pronouns if you said any wacky about trans stuff, okay? If you got the right ideas, we'll consider it, all right?
At least in the United States, the black population also makes up a much larger proportion of crimes committed against others, so...
Yes!
I have news for you. That individual who is being traumatized is in the wrong place, okay? I've studied mental health.
The woman is in the wrong place.
There are two women there. One of them is not causing any problems, and the other one is because...
Some woman that's been... gets a bit triggered by some person with facial hair. Get out! They literally physically cannot. What? They're a male. They do not have the parts necessary to have a menstrual cramp.
So you're fine with children getting cross-sex surgery?
Let's walk through this.
Oh, yes, there it is, finally.
A 4-year-old can be depressed, yes.
And can they understand the implications?
Destiny. White, straight, passing cis man.
Yes. Let's get to the goth tent, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. Now, I want you guys to behave yourselves on two fronts. Okay. In a moment, I'm going to be bringing up a video footage of a trans woman, and I want you to relax, and I want you to do two things. I want you to not do two things. One is I want you to chill on the gawk jokes, and two, I want you to chill on the comments about them looking a certain way, okay? They're a smaller creator, and despite what you may perceive based on the way that they look, from what I understand, they've actually got fairly decent takes on all this nonsense, okay? So, let's be polite, let's be nice, let's relax a little bit, okay? Obviously, I don't mind a little bit of banter, but let's just chill. Let's just chill and ease ourselves into this. The main reason we're watching this is because Alec Gunter is involved, okay? And from what I've heard, apparently Alec Gunter has what we're going to call a moist critical moment. The details of that, of which I'm not certain of exactly what that means. So the trans person, I believe, is arguing against some stuff to do with trans kids, and apparently Alec Gunter's arguing for. But I don't know too much about it. This is quite fresh to me. Let's get into it and see what's what, okay?
Oh?
Hi, what's up? Can you hear me?
Uh-oh, I can't hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
I pushed the talk on. Fair enough. Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I just had a few questions and stuff, really. We can get into. Kind of go wherever.
Sure. Would you like me to turn my camera on?
If you're able to, that'd be great. I'll give me a second.
Sure. Sorry,
I told you not to make these comments.
The background's a little bit of a mess.
That's okay.
But anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, so you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and just give us your name, your pronouns, and what you like to talk.
Can I just point out here? God, Alec Gunter is like the soy new male bugman. Tell me your name and pronoun. Oh my God, dude.
About you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and just give us your name, your pronouns, and what you like to talk about.
Yep. So my name is Mary, aka the Mary Chew. Any pronouns? I guess she, her, if that's easier. I stream.
Sure.
I look at transmedia of all kinds. I'm just interested in a lot of stuff. There's been a lot of there's been a lot of things that have happened. It take a long time to go through all of it.
Indeed.
But yeah, I guess so. I've watched a few debates and stuff like that. I've watched quite a lot of like ally content. Sorry, just give me 1 sec. I do apologize.
Sure. No worries. Also, chat, let me know if both of our audio is coming in okay, as always.
There we go.
Hey,
right,
now we're talking.
So yeah, I guess in terms of approach, like you have a debate coming up. Do you like prepare much? What kind of things do you look at to like?
Whether I use she, her would be predicated on how you perform in this debate, Mary. I wish you luck. We're taking away the pronouns if you said any wacky shit about trans stuff, okay? If you got the right fucking ideas, we'll consider it, all right?
Like to like get yourself informed, you know?
I guess like, you know, I'm a registered nurse, so like I have done a lot of the research already, so I just have a lot of it in my memory bank. My debate style is more about logicking my way through, you know, things like anti-trans policies, because at the end of the day, things like bathroom bans, they just don't work in practice because how are you going to enforce that? Well, let's walk through it, right? You see somebody enter the bathroom, you think that, like the women's bathroom, you think that they're a man. Now what do you do? And just walk through that process, things like that.
Well, I mean, we seem to have been fine with this for literally years. And it tends to be, if someone is putting an effort in to look like a woman, whatever that looks like, then generally it'll be okay. But if there's some sort of incongruence there, and I am wearing a dress, and I try and walk in a bathroom or a toilet, people are going to be like, hang on a minute, mate, what are you playing at, right? But then obviously this is where the incongruence, which would normally be dealt with by kind of social pressure or social interruption of someone stopping someone from doing that or questioning that, we've now moved to a point where it's self-ID. And if you identify with that, you can just walk in. That's the concept that some of these wacky trans advocates want you to have. Whereas, I think broadly speaking, we've just got to work it off the basis of what part is the person playing? What are they trying to do? And if it is particularly incongruent, then at that point, we're probably going to have some questions,
As far as now I did do a little bit of preparation for a debate coming up with, what's his name? Brad Palumbo. And I'm going to do some more because I think that he is a little bit more knowledgeable on these things, and it will probably bring things up like the CAS report, which is bunk, but you have to know how to debunk that. Things like that. So,
which is bunk, but you have to know how to debunk that. So he's just hand waving it away as nonsense, but he doesn't actually know much about it, seemingly. That's been debunked.
Just look at. I kind of just get some people from my Discord community together, and we do a little bit of research together, and that's kind of how I go about it.
Yeah, I got you. Specifically the CAS report, as you just mentioned, use that as an example. Like, where'd you get the stuff from to show that it's bunk? You know what I mean?
Oh, well. Oh my God. God, Mary is, yes, bro, straight in there. Exactly the thought process, and Mary's straight in there, based.
Yale University did a pretty good breakdown of it, and they have a good summary of why it's not, something that we can really use as an official source for our how we make judgments about trans healthcare and legislation. I can pull it up real quick if you'd like.
That's fine. I mean, I can look it up later as well. I'm kind of
Sure.
on the fence, I guess, with the CAS review.
Sure, that's fair.
It's good to use an example,
It is probably the most recent and most official piece of anti-trans research that has been done. And, to its credit, it seems very official. It seems, the transphobes love using it. But I have it pulled up right here. It's it doesn't follow established standards for evaluating evidence and evidence quality. It misinterprets and misrepresents its own data, and I tend to trust the researchers from Yale pretty highly. So, there's 10 of them on here that all contributed to this. So it's, it's a pretty official document.
Okay. Why? I mean, the research that was done as part of the CAS review was done by, I think, was it Yorkshire University or something like that? I mean, I get that you might not know about that, but why are you implicitly just trusting one group of researchers over another? In order to understand, you need to actually look in and dig into it and look into the detail. You can't just go, well, this group has said this and I trust them, but based on what? Based on what exactly?
Argument.
Yeah, so it's kind of because it comes from somewhere like Yale. Is that kind of a big pushing point, I guess?
Well, it just comes from people who are in the field and know this stuff. And it also aligns with the vast majority of research we have on trans care. So, things like the suicide rate and where that, or the suicide attempt rate and where that comes from. Transphobes will argue, well, it's because of trans care. It's because you're trying to affirm them, when that's not the case. All the research on that shows that it is largely from trans people in their community not affirming them. So it's the opposite of what transphobes are saying. So, it's not just that they're from Yale. It's that this aligns with the overwhelming majority of research that we have, along with testimony
from... Yeah, Leftoids is just very good at laser focusing on exactly the thing that backs up their ideas, and only that. It's that and only that. It is literally everything else is bunk, but if you agree with me, then it's good science. And I would presume that there's probably research out of credible universities in America that tell another story.
But how do I make
that gets
money
disregarded on the pile,
people?
right?
A trans in Quiz chat said science was settled 60 years ago and cited Mooney.
Thank you for the $10. Isn't Mooney a nonce? Oh, hey, President. Bro, I put Gok Tent in the title, and President Sunday's there like a rat up a near vagina. My boy trying to sweep a minefield with one of those ball-popping baby toy vacuum cleaners.
From the overwhelming majority of trans people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess I would say like trans experiences seem very like polarized. One thing that was interesting, you say
Polarized how?
I was in. Let me just think a sec. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
So you've got kind of a very specific kind of narrative. I say narrative, it's just the word I'm using, but like that it works a very specific way, and that, you know, it's all about like the gender identity, etc., etc., etc. And then I think there's a growing amount of trans people that actually don't really subscribe to that.
A growing amount.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more of us that kind of, you know, we want to see more before subscribing to a theory about something in our brain that we can't really prove. You know what I mean?
No, I don't actually.
Okay, it's not an important point.
Sure.
But yeah, with the what you were saying about the cast review, what would you say you define?
I think the point that's being made here is it's, you know, progressives posit this idea that the transness of an individual is like inherent within someone's brain, and someone is born in a male body but they've got a female's brain, right, or something like that. I think that is the thing that's often touted, and it's in order to demonstrate that this is like an immutable characteristic that is unchanging. Whereas I think others, seemingly Mary and others, are like, well, that isn't necessarily proven, and it's not a conclusive proven fact that that's the case. You know, that is like something that's touted based, I would guess, on presumably some sort of investigation or science or something that exists, but doesn't conclusively state it as the way it's presented, you know? And also this idea of trans in the brain, immutable, it doesn't account for the fact that there is, many would argue, a potential social contagion, or there could be influences at play. And this is very fundamental to the, you know, child trans combo thing, right? In the, you know, if it's immutable, then the argument would be, well, it's immutable, so they're definitely that, so we should give them the puberty blockers because they're going to transition anyway, right? Whereas if it's social contagion or influenced by their surroundings in some way, well, then it's not necessarily immutable, and it could be, as much as they've moved into this idea of what they think their gender identity is or what their sex thing is, they could potentially move out of it, right? Which is like, well, then we don't want to necessarily go down the route of affirming, because what if they change their mind later and we're already too far down the path and things have happened that have hormones or potentially certain surgeries, etc. So, you know, this is why progressives, I think, push this narrative, because, you know, it backs up their mentality of, if a trans kid comes forward and says that they're trans, stuffing them with puberty blockers until they get to a point where they're older, and then we put them on hormones, and then we give them surgery. That is the optimal way to deal with it. And that's why they want to debunk and dismiss stuff like the cast review, because the cast review is coming forward and saying, well, actually, the evidence for that isn't actually as good as you think it is, and here's some other ideas of what we could potentially do in order to kind of address this, you know?
Anti-trans ads in terms of anti-trans research?
Anything that restricts the rights and, I guess, safety of trans people in general, or tries to otherize them. Things like saying that, I don't know if this is in the cast report, frankly, but things like autogynephilia, that whole, you know, that's kind of a farce, and people will throw that around and try to sexualize.
I don't know if autogynephilia is in the cast report. The cast report is primarily looking at, you know, care for children who express like gender incongruence or you know, some sort of gender dysphoria. I mean, AGP is another matter altogether, really. It's not really anything to do with the cast review at all. I don't know why you would think that it's anything to do with the fucking cast review.
As trans people and say, well, it's just a sexual fetish, and autogynephiles are, you know, trying to walk around in public and get their you know, get their rocks off to people seeing them as a woman, when that's simply not happening. Like, you know, it's things like that.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, he said, I don't know if it's in there, but my question is, why would you think in any way that it is? Because it's nothing to do with that concept. You know, obviously, the AGP thing, sensitive issue. I think that there's some merit to the AGP stuff, and there's some people that outwardly express as being AGP. And if we're talking about self-ID, if we've got a trans person saying, I'm AGP, I get aroused by the idea of being perceived of, seen as a woman and engaging in life as a woman, that gives me some sort of arousal, which is why I'm doing this. Who are we to deny their experiences, you know?
That narrative. I guess I watch certain people who are a bit more into the autogynephile thing and sort of see it very differently to just blokes going out there like, look at me, I'm a woman, you know?
You haven't heard
I think it runs a bit deeper. And I think it's really just a theory, ultimately. I don't know if I'd say it's anti-trans by nature. It can be used that way.
Yeah,
well, the
true.
vast majority of the time it is, and it's been debunked too, because it's like they've done.
Yeah, exactly. It is just that, a theory. Right? And people act like, of course, it could be used in that way because you paint every trans person as an AGP freak who just is getting aroused at the thought of being in a woman's bathroom. But this idea that it fundamentally is a transphobic thing, when it can be just invoked as a theory or a concept. And, you know, a trans person talking about thinking they're AGP or feeling that way or resonating with that analysis, is that transphobic? I don't know. That seems kind of insane to me. Oh, God, President Sunday is saying shit about... Yeah, okay, whatever. Whatever, Sunday. I'm sure he's saying good stuff, okay? I'll take your word for it.
They've asked... Like, the way that autogynephilia was, I guess, for lack of better terms, diagnosed is a questionnaire, right? And when they gave this questionnaire to cis women, 90% of them, I believe, I'd have to re-look at the number, but it's like 90% of them also would have been diagnosed with autogynephilia. So
debunk it.
I think it does, unless you want to say that all those cis women also have autogynephilia, in which case, what's the point of it?
I don't know.
What's the point of pointing it out, right?
But wait a second. If a cis woman resonates with autogynephilia, I mean, how does that debunk or disprove the idea that it's a concept that could exist? Because isn't the point of it that a man would resonate with being seen as a woman?
Okay,
but anyway,
wonderful.
I don't know the
But
ins
how
and
do
outs
I
of that.
make
That sounds like he's
money off
plucking
oppressed
stuff out of his
people?
ass, so I don't fucking know. And, you know, this is the problem with this stuff. You need to go and look at the study and you need to analyze it and assess it. Because for all we know, a survey was given to 10 women, 50 women. Who fucking knows? Like, it might not be a good cross-section because you've only got a small amount of women responding to this questionnaire. So, you know, the study shit is old hat. I think that the study stuff gives people an opportunity to put stuff out there. And unless you're able to actually analyze and look at the contents of the study and assess it, it's kind of worthless. So generally in these conversations, I just disregard when people are talking about a percentage from a study that they saw. Because it's like, well, without engaging with it and looking at it and assessing it, how the fuck are you supposed to know if that's actually good information or not? But in any case, I don't even know if that was true, that would really meaningfully debunk the concept of AGP.
Yeah, I mean...
It just seems pointless at that point.
Well, the differing factor, I guess, is that those are females and it's a male category, you know what I mean?
But it's not...
Yeah, exactly. It's a male who wants to elicit some sort of sense of pleasure, arousal, whatever, from being perceived as a female. So, you know, a woman wanting to achieve, you know, it's like a woman puts on some lingerie in the bedroom because they want to be seen as a sexy woman to get fucked, okay? Maybe you could say that that is like a thing of AGP, but they are a woman already. Whereas a man is a man. And what, they're going to put on the lingerie in the bedroom as a woman? I think there's different things happening there. There's different dynamics at play on the basis of your, you know, your sex or your gender identity or whatever, you know?
It's a male category. They have
AGP,
the exact same criteria.
Yeah, but it's being applied to males, not females, if you know what I mean. That's the differing factor between those two populations, I guess.
Okay, but you're judging them by exactly the same criteria for autogynephilia. And it's showing up that the overwhelming majority of cis women also technically have it.
Well, maybe that's the case. I don't know. I need to look more into it. Like, I haven't looked at Blanchard for a while, to be honest.
Okay. It's interesting. You should look into it.
Yeah. Oh no, I have a fair amount. There's a guy called Ray Alex Williams I quite like on YouTube who actually goes into it in more detail. And I'm not sold on it, but it's you know, it's another theory to me. Do you think that like the gender identity theory has been like proven?
The gender identity theory?
Yeah, the theory that your gender identity is this and your body is something other than that.
Well, I'm a gender abolitionist, and my view of gender is that it's a useless construct of society, but as long as it's around, we should like point it in the direction that gives us the most utility possible. And to me, that just means, you know, giving trans people the same rights as cis people.
What's the utility in that?
Oh my God, dude. Excellent. Yes, gender abolition. Let's go.
The gender identity theory?
Yeah, the theory that your gender identity is this and your body is something other than that.
Well, I'm a gender abolitionist, and my view of gender is that it's a useless construct of society, but as long as it's around, we should like point it in the direction that gives us the most utility possible. And to me, that just means, you know, giving trans people the same rights as cis people.
What's the utility in that?
Well, I mean, if we don't do that, then how are you going to enforce things like bathroom bans?
Well, I mean, if gender doesn't exist, then I don't know why you'd be worried about bathroom bans.
Because you're restricting people from being able to use, like, I don't think gender is important, but to some people it is important because we live in a very...
So if this guy's a gender abolitionist, is he just saying we should all go piss in the same toilets? Is that right? As in, like, you know, and obviously if you've got an individual unit where you walk in, lock the door and there's one toilet, I mean, that doesn't really matter. Like, you have that at home. But like a shared space where anyone, regardless of what you just have one fucking mush of people going in, and it could be any old fucker in the toilet. The person shitting next to you that you have to walk out to the face could be a man, woman, MB, gender freak, who knows?
Very gender-pilled society, if you will, to speak crudely, I guess. So, you know, gender identity is important to a lot of people, both trans and cis. And,
Nice
membership.
you know, we assume that women use the women's bathroom, women play in women's sports, women go to places that are labeled women. And so if you're saying that people who...
Does he understand that some of that, like women's sports, is because women cannot compete at the same level as men? The top level woman cannot compete at the same level as the top level man. That seems like quite an important and useful distinction that we have in society, no? Differentiating out women's sports seems important. So how do we do that? How do we do that without... Because obviously you could talk about weight categories and stuff like that, but then in some places, like, weight categories and stuff aren't really relevant. It just seems like if we got rid of that, we just have an extremely bureaucratic nightmare of trying to assess sports to the point where we're looking at, like, heights, weights, fucking all this shit for different sports, everything's categorized. It sounds like a nightmare, does it not? Am I crazy? It just seems like a totally implausible solution when we got one that has got its imperfections, but broadly works. You know, if you're a woman, we've got this category here, it's capped off, so you've got more of a chance, and you're not going to be competing against people that, you know, will always outperform you at the top level.
Call themselves women, who dress like women, who act like women, who look like women, are not allowed to go into places that are for women. You're discriminating against them for some reason. You're saying you're not a real woman. And that causes problems. It causes mental problems. It causes societal problems. It causes rifts in communities. Like, it's not good. So it's just better to assume that trans women are fully fledged, equal women, because they are.
Can males be women, though?
Yes.
How so?
By saying they are women.
So gender is just what you say it is.
Bro, no way, he's doing the thing. He's doing the self-ID. He actually believes in just full self-ID. A male can just be a woman by saying that, I'm a woman. Guys, I'm a woman now. I'm a woman. Let me into your bathroom. You let me into your shower. Let me in. Let me in. I want to see you. Let me in your shower room now. I'm a woman.
How else do you determine gender?
Well, I mean, typically it's kind of more linked to sex, and it's to do with, you know, what gametes you have. And woman means adult human female to most people.
Okay, so how do you go about enforcing something like a bathroom ban?
Well, it's very difficult to. Places aren't going to enforce with guards because they'd have to pay them. A third bathroom solution is one thing. It takes a while, obviously.
Right.
There's no easy solution, you know?
Right, I agree, there's not. And what would these guards even be tasked with doing? Like, if you suspect somebody who is a man of going into the bathroom, what do you even do? Like, into the women's bathroom, what do you do?
I don't know. I think the only way it'd work is, like, this women and everyone else. I mean, I'm not big on, like, the bathroom bans, I guess. I do agree with the practicality of it is very difficult, you know?
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying it is more practical to simply let trans women use the women's bathroom. I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think...
See, I don't necessarily disagree. It's just that, like, if you look like a woman and you walk into a woman's bathroom, it's very intuitive, this, and you walk into a woman's bathroom, there probably isn't going to be much concern. And this has been a thing for ages. You know, trans women who are playing the part well are able to walk into a women's bathroom. It's when the appearance is incongruent with what they're suggesting they are. And if they're saying they're a woman, but they look like a bloke, which is obviously not a fucking perfect line, it's going to be based on your own personal perception, etc. That's where it gets complicated. And that's where the self-ID thing becomes an issue. Right? Because if I am walking into a woman's bathroom, dressed like this, all the hallmarks and all the categorization that you would expect a male to be looking like, male clothing designed to go on a male's body, a beard, traditionally associated with being male, masculinity, etc. And I got to walk in. It's reasonable that people are going to have a problem with that. But by Gunter's logic, I should be able to brute force my way in by saying, well, no, I'm a woman. even to the discomfort or displeasure of other people that want to use it because of the incongruence of my appearance with what I'm saying that I am. And I think that is a reasonable concern. And it's reasonable for people to express dissatisfaction with that and want to come up with some sort of solution, you know, that is imperfect. I mean, I don't, like I say, I think if you look the part, in you go. There's going to be some outliers that, as President Sunday is pointing out, he probably bloody loves some of these. If you've got like a butch, cis lesbian, you know, there's probably going to be some issues there. I just feel like a lot of this is very intuitive, and there is a sort of, most of the time, an ability to assess the difference between like a butch cis lesbian and a guy wearing a dress.
Liberalka became a member.
Thank you for the membership. So I just think my perspective on it is you've got to have it on the basis that if you're playing the part well, you're probably going to have frictionless access to these spaces. If you're not playing the part well, or indeed if you're incongruent to, if you are a cisgender individual, but you present an incongruent image to what you normally expect, like you're some sort of tomboy or something like that, that probably could be an issue. That could get a bit complicated. But broadly speaking, we're doing okay with this stuff, okay? These bathroom bans, I don't really agree with. I think they're difficult to enforce, dependent on what the lettering of the law is. I don't think you can really meaningfully assess whether someone is cisgender before letting them in. It's all based on intuition, perspective, and what people think in the area that these things are happening. You know, that's generally what I think about it.
I think at that point you're kind of disregarding what the women are saying. You know, ones that don't want to be in these enclosed spaces with like male people.
Most women, if I recall correctly, most women in the United States, first of all, are fine with trans women using the bathroom. Most cis women are fine with it. Second of all, trans women are also women.
Conceptually, I think they would be. Conceptually, if it is like a very feminine looking individual, they're probably fine with that. But if it is me, like I just struggle to accept that if you're the average woman in America and you showed them a picture of me in all my ugly glory, and you said, this person is claiming to be a woman and they want to enter the bathroom with you, do you find that an acceptable thing? Do you think that's okay? I'd struggle to believe that women would be like, yep, that's totally fine. No problems there.
Off depressed people.
President
Hey,
Sunday
Liberal
became
Chad.
a
Thank
member.
you for the 5 gifted.
Okay, that's wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
John
So
Harlow
yeah, I don't know,
became a
dude.
member.
I think conceptually that's probably true because women tend to trend, I think,
Okay,
more
that's
progressive,
wonderful.
and they
But how
probably
do I
wouldn't
make
want to be seen as being bigoted towards trans women or something. Conceptually, sure, but faced with the reality of a very masculine-looking person identifying as a woman and wanting to come into your bathroom, I think they probably would have a problem with that if I was to guess.
View them as women, and so I respect them as women as well. Their voices matter as women.
Well, sure, but we're talking about the women in the bathroom, and like we don't really know what the average woman thinks. I reckon most people probably don't care, but you still have to worry about the ones that do. You know, you have to hear what their concerns are, right?
Well, what are their concerns?
Well, some of them, they don't want to be in an enclosed space with a male person. You've got I think it's the sexual assault statistics.
How do they determine whether somebody's male?
Well, they might hear a voice. They might see someone that, you know, has facial hair.
Hear a voice. So, like, if somebody has a deep enough voice, you kick them out.
Well, I'm not saying kick them out. I'm saying what might
Okay.
cause someone to feel a bit uncomfortable, you know? And those are the kind of
Then
things.
but then you're not listening to them if you don't like kick them out, right? Or
Well,
take some
yeah,
kind
but I
of
mean,
action.
that's a different part of the conversation, I guess. That's a bit further along.
It's like Gunter is like, God, he's like so desperate to like dunk, it feels like. He's so desperate to find an angle to dunk with, and like he's being very like, the way he's talking, he's like, well, what? If they've got a deep voice, you kick them out? It's like pure debate pedo shit, isn't it? You know? Gunning for an angle, any angle you can to get a disagreement so you can get an epic dunking in the debate. Whereas it feels like Mary is coming along with a lot more of like a mentality of just wanting to have a conversation about it, you know? That's what it comes across like to me.
But my point is the practicality of this doesn't pan out. Like, this is my whole point, is if you live in a gender-pilled society, the practical thing to do is simply let people identify the way that they want to identify, use the bathroom they want to use, take on the gendered role that they want to take on. It's just the best thing. It's the simplest solution.
Do you think it matters at all that trans women follow the same pattern of like sexual assault as males, not females? Do you think that matters?
Do they?
Yeah. I think
I
we're
mean-
overrepresented in prisons, like incarcerated trans women, should I say.
I don't know where you're getting that data, but there are, at least in the United States, the black population also makes up a much larger proportion of crimes committed against others. So
Yes. Yo, Gunter base, let's go. Now we're talking. Now we're getting to the real content. Yes, now we're talking, dude.
I don't know where you're getting that data, but there are, at least in the United States, the black population also makes up a much larger proportion of crimes committed against others. So
Based at the end of statement. That's all he's got to say on the matter, I'm sure. Okay.
I don't think that this is a very good precedent to be setting. Is like based upon the population's proclivity for crime is how we treat individuals that are from that community. That has historically not panned out well.
Well, the thing is, we're not doing it by race. We're doing it by sex, and they're already segregated by sex. You know what I mean?
So why not just have a prison for sex offenders then?
I don't know.
Bro.
I just think that...
Could you imagine the sex offender prison? It would be like hog heaven for rapists. It'd be a rape buffet, wouldn't it? It would be like fucking... I don't know what it would be like. It would be like a situation where the biggest, strongest rapist rises to the top and is king of the rapes, and he rapes everyone else. Right. That's a great idea. Make a reality show out of it. Just call it Rape Prison. Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
That would be better, don't you?
Well, I mean, the point really is that women that are cognizant of this are going to be uncomfortable if they feel a male presence in the toilet. They're in this enclosed space with them,
If they feel a male presence, how do they feel a male presence?
Well, as in, they're using the bathroom, they hear a voice, they...
Yeah, I mean, this is like... This is the problem with like the data male approach to this. Is some of this is very intuitive and it's not clear cut, right? And there's like no direct line where you can draw it. But I think we can all imagine, if we're honest with ourselves, a situation of a woman walking into a toilet and there being some fucking bloke there wearing a dress, that Josh Seater guy that we were looking at the other day, him being stood there in a dress. Hey, sweetie, like that would obviously make, I feel like, many women feel uncomfortable. We do have a prison for offenders. It's called the Special Unit. Offenders that are likely to die usually placed in unique units. Well, yeah, they section off sex offenders, normally in regards to child sex offenders, because they want to protect them to some degree. Child sex offenders are some of the most targeted people in prison. Because guess what? They don't like pedos, okay? They want to wood chipper them, literally.
Okay, so they hear a voice. Okay, let's walk through this. Let's walk through this. They hear what they perceive to be a male voice. What happens next? Like, how do we solve this?
It really depends. Like, the person has trauma, the person is uncomfortable around males.
I'm not asking where it comes from. I'm not asking where it comes from. The point is they're uncomfortable. So
well, it's difficult to resolve that issue. Like, we're talking about the finicky little details of social interactions. It's very difficult to solve that. But the idea is that you hopefully try and avoid it by coming up with some reasonable way of making sure that people who are particularly masculine in their presentation aren't freely able to access these spaces. And yes, there's some trans people who are probably struggling to pass that are going to get caught up in that. But it's like, I just feel like we would broadly have to accept that the comfort of the broad women that are in these spaces outweighs the few trans individuals who are going to get hard done by this, I don't know what other option there is. There's no easy solution for this. People that say it should be based on sex. Well, what do you do about someone who is presenting so well as a woman that it's very difficult to discern that they're not actually a natal female, male, to discern that actually a natal male? It's very difficult to do that. So it gets quite complicated. Segment off a portion of the state and then airdrop in virgin women and boys every few months to keep them docile. Jesus.
How do we solve this?
Well, currently no one does anything and the women are going to have to fend for themselves, I guess.
Okay, fend for themselves. So what does that entail?
I don't know. We'll have to...
That entails just getting over it, right?
To get lost. If they get assaulted for that, then I guess that's their problem then.
telling people to get, you're saying that the cis women should tell the trans, well, the person they perceive to be a man, let's say, to get lost. Like that's the solution.
I think that's the logical solution if nothing else is done. And it kind of seems like there's not really any good solutions. So I think that's probably what is going to happen.
Okay, but they say get lost. The person they think is a man says, no, I'm using the bathroom. I have just as much right to be in here as you do. Now what?
I don't know. Hopefully the woman doesn't get assaulted by the man, because that would not be good.
Okay, but you're already reading the assault into it. Like, where's that coming?
It just, you know, it just feels like Gunter is looking for like a hard solution to like what are generally fairly unique social situations, but ones that would be enhanced and increased by the mentality that you just use whatever bathroom you most identify with, right? Whereas I think, you know, as long as you're making a reasonable effort to present as in a certain way, I think that probably will solve most of these issues, you know? So, I don't know. It's, yeah, it's complicated. It's difficult. It's not straightforward, but yeah.
Coming from the person's just using the bathroom. You think that they're going to be pointed out by somebody and then all of a sudden want to commit assault?
Well, it's kind of more.
And also, the other thing, like this, obviously they're having a debate specifically about this, but this issue, generally speaking, is going to be a very limited one. I mean, I don't know, bro. Maybe I don't live in a particularly woke area, maybe, but I can't remember the last time this has been like a concern.
But how do I make money off depressed people?
I vote for Chud to be the warden of the rapey prison.
Thank you very much, Psycho Kage. Thank you for the $20. Very generous.
The fears that women feel, you know?
Right.
I just think we need to listen to them on that.
Sure. But what's the solution? Once again, like you hear somebody with a deeper voice in the bathroom, and what, you just kick them out?
Depends on the person, I guess. There is no easy solution.
Well, it depends on the person. Right. So my solution is just, you kind of got to get over it. Right? Like,
Well, sure,
like some people have, I mean, there are cis women who have deep voices too. Should we kick them out? Like, where do you draw the line here?
Where the sex is.
At some point, they do just kind of have to get over it.
That's fine. Listen, if that's your position, that's fine. I think a lot of women might feel a bit differently. But...
Bro, just get over it. Get over it, bitches. Okay? If a fella's wearing a dress and he wants to come in, get over it. Your concerns are not relevant to me. I'm more interested in letting this fucking trans come in and shit in your toilet.
Okay.
But a lot of women also just have deep voices.
Based. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I don't care about women. That's based, actually. Yes, we will come and shit in your toilet, and there's nothing you can do to stop us.
Discriminated against based on that if we, you know, try to enforce anything like a trans bathroom ban. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens, I guess, because it looks like it's going to happen in your country.
Okay, well, yeah, and it's going to end up being chaos, you know, and frankly, I don't think it'll last.
I don't know. I don't know.
This is why I say it's just more practical to view trans women as equal to cis women. They are just women.
Yeah.
And they are. And that's not even
arguably it should be that. Yeah, I mean, this is the point it gets to as well, is like, if we're talking about who should be getting over it, I would have thought that, you know, yeah, the tiny psycho that gets over it, not the whole entire subordinate sex class. Most people can use sex-based facilities without meritting down, actually. Yeah. You're a TERF, though, aren't you? What do you think of this idea of, like, if you look like a woman, it's fine? I don't know. What do you think?
Like, me being like, oh, well, we have to, like, see to their mindset. Like, we're not doing fantasy here. They are women.
In what way? Oh, because they told themselves. I asked you that earlier. I do apologize. I disagree with that, to be honest. I'm a trans woman myself. I think what's happened is...
Okay. Well, what makes you a woman, then?
Nothing. I don't think
then
womanhood
why do you
something...
call yourself one? Are you lying to yourself?
I call myself a trans woman because...
Oh my God, Gunter is so desperate for the dunk. He's not listening. Mary is saying that they don't think of themselves as a woman. They think of themselves as a trans woman. So they're differentiating between themselves and a woman. Literally so desperate to get a dunk in, he's talking over the trans person, explaining their perspective. Trans ally, by the way. Trans ally.
Why do you...
I think what's happened is...
Okay. Well, what makes you a woman, then?
Nothing. I don't think
then why do you call yourself one? Are you lying to yourself?
I call myself a trans woman because I've gone through that whole process, and I used to call myself one.
But you just said nothing makes you a woman, so according to you, you're not a woman.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm male. I'm a trans woman at best. If someone doesn't want to call me a trans woman, then that's up to them ultimately.
But I'm confused. Are you a woman or not?
Well, I'm male.
Welcome to Chud.
Okay, that's not my question. Are you a woman or not?
I'm not a woman.
Oh my God.
Wild ride, happy holidays.
Dude, how is he not following this? Thank you for the Prime sub. What Mary's saying is that they are a male, okay? Therefore, they cannot be a woman because a woman is an adult human female and they're a male. So they refer to themselves as a trans woman to characterize where they perceive themselves, which is a male who, I don't know what their exact definition would be, presumably is going through some process or some procedures to, you know, at least take on some of the characteristics of a female, despite being male, or something like that, right?
Woman, no.
Okay, so why do you call yourself a trans woman then?
Because I've gone through that whole process. I'm post-op. You put me next to another trans woman who identifies. We ultimately are, you know, inseparable in that way. We both had the same things done. We're both males who have had surgery, etc. So it's, you know, it's the pattern, right?
Okay, but then you're still calling yourself a woman, but you're also saying you're not. This seems entirely inconsistent to me. Is my point.
Trans woman.
What? How is that inconsistent? What?
And woman.
Like you're a woman or you're not. No, a trans woman is a type of woman. Trans is an adjective. It's like black woman.
I disagree
with
with
all
that.
woman.
I think that types of women, they're still female, ultimately, you know?
Okay, but sex and gender are separate concepts. They're intertwined, but they're separate concepts at the end of the day.
Why would gender trump sex, though?
Look at this dude, dumb slack-jawed gaze whenever she speaks. I just find, you know, whether you agree or disagree, it seems very clear the what Mary's saying here. The male, they present the characteristics of what a female would, but they are fundamentally male, and therefore they consider themselves a trans woman. What, you know, this is what the TERFs would call a trans-identified male or something like that. They use slightly different terminology, but the concept is the same. Like, this is pretty straightforward stuff, no?
Well, because how do you determine somebody's gender out in public?
I don't know. Why do you need to?
I agree. You shouldn't need to. That's why I'm a gender abolitionist. But we do. So how do you do it? How do most people do it?
I don't know. It really depends on the person and who they're looking at. I mean,
but okay, come on.
It's intuition, isn't it? You walk down the street, you look at someone, and you have a subconscious assessment of what you perceive their appearance to be, male, female, right?
You do know. You do it too.
I do.
You go out in public. You see a person, and you do what? How do you figure out whether they're a man or a woman?
I just.
Oh my God, Ali, give it up, okay? God, you're too much sometimes. This person has good energy. My heart goes out to anybody who had experimental pelvic floor surgery under the mistaken belief that it was reasonably likely to alleviate psychiatric distress. Oh, damn it. You never stop, do you? You never stop with your turf nonsense.
See what I see.
Right,
if I
you see what you see.
pronounce someone, I give the pronouns of what I see.
Yes, that's how we do it. So my point is that's gender. That's not sex, because you're not testing chromosomes. You're not looking at genitalia before you decide like you're going to gender the person a certain way. You perceive a gender.
But you can intuit, right? I mean, I know that the very what am I trying to say here? Sorry, I do apologize. The overwhelming likelihood is I have XY chromosomes. Like, you can intuit stuff, surely.
Okay, when you got in public, I'll be honest, I was listening to you a little bit while I was working out today, just to get an idea of like what you're about. And I heard you mention that, you know, you would go into bathrooms and you would use the men's bathroom until men started looking at you weird.
Yeah.
For using the men's bathroom. So they saw you and they saw a woman, right?
Presumably, yeah. That doesn't mean that they actually saw a woman. They just think they did.
That's all that matters, though.
Why?
That's my point. Because they'll refer to you as a woman. They'll call you a woman. Unless you want to be called otherwise. If you tell them, like, no, I'm actually a man, you know, like, or other, or whatever, non-binary, whatever, like, that's what they'll call you. They'll call you a woman.
It's very simple, all right? You're either a man or a woman. You look like a man, you're a man. You look like a woman, you're a woman. That's it. End of conversation. Bro, this is getting a bit mindfucky to me. I hope they get into the stuff about the trans kids. That's what I'm waiting for, really.
That doesn't make me one, though.
Does it not?
No.
Why not?
Well, I still was born male. I only have a vagina because I had it done, you know?
But nobody's checking that. This is my point.
They didn't have
In
to.
society, it is way more useful to just either make that, well, it's the most useful to not have gender. But since we have it, it's more useful to just make that assumption rather than be like, well, time to pull out your genitalia, please. Drop your dick on the table.
You still make an assumption that they probably have XY or XX chromosomes, because that's, like, what is it, 98, 99%?
No, okay,
chance?
but this is silly. But this is silly. Nobody's looking at me thinking, yes, this individual has XY chromosomes, more than likely. Like, nobody thinks that. They just see me and they think man, because I'm bald, I gotta be.
Yeah, but why do they think you're a man? Because of knowledge of chromosomes, like well, it's probably true. To be fair to Gunter, no one is thinking
Okay,
XY
wonderful.
chromosome, but
But how do
your
I make
analysis
money off
of whether or not
depressed
someone
people?
is a man or a
Run
woman
out
is
for a
based on a
bit.
perception,
Who
based
is
on your
Alex
understanding
talking
of the
to?
chromosomal
She's
stuff
hot in
at a
like
fundamental level,
medieval
right?
housewife kind of way.
Thank you for the super chats. This is Mary. This is a trans individual. Not that that matters. To be clear, we're woke here. Okay.
Beard, I'm larger in stature, and they take all of these things into account, and they think, oh yes, man. There's nothing to do with my sex given at birth.
Well, yeah,
Like it does a
because
little
your
bit because
sex-
it does a little bit in the sense that I look like this because of the
you wouldn't have a
testosterone that
beard for one thing.
coursed through my body. But trans men look like me as well. Take Buck Angel, for instance.
that's
Nobody would look at
wonderful.
Buck Angel and
But
be
how
like,
do I
ah, yes,
make
this person
money
probably has
off
XX
depressed
chromosomes
people?
and is a woman and should use the women's bathroom.
all
Even
of that's
though
true.
Buck Angel,
Okay, not
well,
the
yeah,
women's
but nobody
bathroom bit.
assumes that. Nobody looks at Buck Angel and thinks that. They just see Buck Angel and think, ah, yes, man, that's a man, and they're right.
Well, yeah, but,
And most of the time, you will be right because that's how gender works.
yeah, I don't know.
Wait,
I
hang on a
guess
second. We're talking about like someone who's been on like hormones for years and is one of the most like prominent passing like individuals or whatever. Like, what about the people that are in between? We always go to the extremes with this, don't we? Eh?
you talk about utility. I don't know if I see the
Get your
utility.
before you enter, Buck. Get your pussy out now.
Really, like it seems like people are what they are, and it doesn't matter if they're perceived differently. You know.
But perception's reality.
Well, no, I mean,
In
Jesus, if
terms
I-
of gender, it absolutely is.
if I see someone that's 6 years old and I think they're 5, they're still 6. You know.
Okay. I actually disagree with Mary here. Like, yeah, perception is reality if you're talking about entering a bathroom, right? Perception is all that matters because you don't have any other information. In terms of whether or not you... Well, okay, I should clarify. Perception isn't reality in terms of, like, it doesn't speak to what they actually are, but perception is important in terms of assessing whether or not you think you would be comfortable with a person going in. So it's not right to say, you know, perception is reality. But in terms of having a conversation about who goes into the bathroom, perception is a big part of it because that is going to guide what you think is appropriate or not, right?
Okay, but you're looking at them and thinking this child is, I don't know if it's toddler or child at that point, but you know, there are things that you can't intuit, like age. Okay, but gender is not age; they're not interchangeable concepts. Age is based on
But race
the
was.
finite amount of time that you've been on this planet. Gender
How come
is
race is interchangeable, but age isn't?
how come race is interchangeable? What do you mean?
Yeah, we were talking about bathrooms earlier, and it was like, well, we did this with black people and stuff.
Well, because age is based on a finite concept of time. Gender is based on norms and behaviors that are typical of one or the other sex as we have prescribed it, although there have been historical instances of gender where that's not the case. It's a societal construct that's not based on a...
But wait. Yes, in terms of we grow older, but in terms of like years, days, weeks, that is something we've constructed. That is a social construct as well. The way we track time, like time existing and passing, is obviously a thing that we can't really... That is just a thing that exists. But how we conceptualize it, right? I don't know, dude. Bro, this is getting... Where does he talk about the kids? I want him to talk about the fucking kid stuff. That's the stuff I'm interested in. This is all nonsense.
finite measurement like that.
Well, sex is based on a finite measurement because there's 2 options.
Right, but sex and gender, well, there's not, first of all, there's more than, like there's a spectrum, but
It's not a spectrum.
as far as, yes, there is. But as far as gender
Definitely
goes, like I said, it's just, you assume somebody's gender. Like, that's just how that works.
that doesn't make it a
and then-
reality,
and-
though,
and-
right?
Sure it does. I mean, like, if I go out in public and people perceive that I'm a man and I act like a man and I talk like a man and I do man things and, you know, I hang out with the bros and get a brewski and...
Yeah, but that's not what reality... Like, the reality is you're a male. And then the question becomes, well, how useful is assessing the reality of something if it's difficult to do so when so much of what we do is based on, like, our intuition?
wear pants rather than a dress, that makes me a man, whether regardless of whether I have a penis or not. It doesn't matter. That part doesn't matter in society. That's my point. It's impractical.
Right. I mean, I think we're seeing like clashes in women's rights and trans rights that suggest in some areas there is problems with that kind of approach. Like
I
sports, for
disagree. I
example.
don't think those two ever have to come into conflict.
Well, they are. It's not about whether they have to or not.
No.
Yeah, you should do, Sunday. I think Mary Chu's open to it. Mary Chu, I think, has said about speaking to me, but I don't really see any, I don't know, I'm not really, like, heavy into it anymore. I just want to hear Gunter say dumb stuff, really. But yeah, I don't know if I mean, I'm open to it, but also you guys would be so obnoxious about the jokes, and I don't want it. I don't want all that nonsense. Okay.
Female spaces, sports, things like that.
Why? Okay, but what do you mean female spaces? What's the conflict there?
Well, there's women out there that want certain spaces.
I think the bathroom stuff. I find it very dull to talk about that. Right. I think that, you know, I do feel that at times there's a mountain made out of a molehill when this I don't think is a particularly meaningful issue. Like, things seem to be okay. I mean, I agree that pushing towards a self-ID concept, there's problems with that. We should avoid pushing in that direction hard. But the stuff like the sports stuff, you know, that is where I think there's more merit to have the conversation, particularly after progressives have pushed so hard to have trans women compete in sports, even in the face of evidence that suggests that they do have these advantages, you know?
Female only, like say rape crisis centers, even toilets for some of them. So it's
what if a trans woman was raped?
Hmm?
What if a trans woman was raped? It needs to go to a rape crisis center, which happens a lot, by the way.
Well, I mean,
so
the logic would be they'd go to one that isn't single sex.
So what do you mean? Like, they're a woman, so they would go to a woman's rape center.
Well, I mean, our definition that we're working off of woman is how they look and how they dress.
Let me ask you this: a trans woman goes into a women's rape shelter or rape center or whatever to get help. Why should they turn her away?
Male sex, if it's women's only.
How do they determine that?
I don't know. I don't work at one of those.
You don't know. Exactly. So you're bullshitting me. This is
I'm not
bullshit.
bullshitting. I'm just saying.
Yes, you are. You have no way of enforcing this. You're like, oh, well, yes, we should protect women's spaces, but you have no way of enforcing this.
Well, we can still talk about the issues rather than...
We can talk about it, but my point is, nobody has the right to know.
By looking at the cock. By seeing the cock. I mean, but then, okay. But then the problem you've got is that is absurd. By seeing the cock and balls. Yeah, but if it's not, like, surely the concern would be, you've been raped, we want to help you. I agree there's a question mark, there's an issue here. I get that. And I get that, you know, I get that a woman is going to be uncomfortable around the presence of a male, potentially. But if someone's been raped, like, what, they're going in there and you're like, right, get your cock out. Dude, it's cock inspection day, get it out. Like, dude, that creates more issues, you know? Like, there is this small component of people in society that we're going to have to contend with to some degree. It gets overblown, certainly, but I don't know if a good solution is get their gock out. I don't know. I feel like we probably need to have another way of handling this more discreetly if you genuinely want to set a standard of this, right? I think it was always just going to come back to kind of intuition. I don't know, dude. Maybe the TERFs can speak up. I don't fucking know what the solution to this stuff is. Bro, I don't care about rape, okay?
Oh, what that trans woman's packing. So unless you want to make her drop her pants at a rape center, make her drop her pants, I would say you probably just let her in. As long as she's not causing other problems that are unrelated to her being trans.
Hey guys, sometimes when you're a total minority in society, there isn't always going to be perfect accommodation for you. Very rich coming from a black man.
Well, what if their presence is traumatizing to someone that's been raped by a man?
How would it possibly be traumatizing?
Because it's a male person.
Meaning
they're male, like the person that raped another woman that's in there.
I understand that, but what are you implying? Which part of it is traumatizing to somebody?
Well, the presence, let's say a woman gets raped by a male, and then she goes to what she thinks is a single-sex place, and then she finds she's in with another male, and that is triggering.
Okay, but how does she find that out? How does she find that out?
Being around that person.
But how?
Hello, sweetheart. You get raped, did you? Yeah, I got raped as well. I got proper raped. I think we're bunking up tonight, aren't we? I mean, again, it's going to be perception based. I don't know. It's all going to be. This is all where it gets to the subtleties of social interaction. It's quite complicated. There's no hard lines with this stuff, you know. And there's going to be situations where there's going to be a trans person who passes so well you wouldn't even know, or even if you did know, they're such a feminine individual. They're so feminized in their appearance, it wouldn't really bother you. But then if it's a big hulking guy who's self-IDing as a woman that's stuck a dress on, that could well be bothersome to you. It's all going to be on this is all going to come down to very individualized context. There's no hard rules in the sand here. As much as the TERFs want to say, right? As much as the TERFs want to say it should be sex-based, right? It's like that creates a complexity of like how would you be able to tell if someone genuinely is you know, passing well? But then, you know, I think the other side of it is we get to this idealized conception where it's like the feminine trans person, and there are some people like that. But I think a lot of trans people are not like that. So it probably would, in many cases, be in this rare amount of cases where this is an issue. In many of those cases, I think it would probably be quite transparent and obvious what is going on, I would imagine. And most trans people are not, you know, Blair White or whatever. They're fucking, they're Lily Contino, you know?
Oh, like, what do you mean being around that person?
Well, most trans women don't pass 100% of the time. I certainly don't.
Okay. So what's the implication here?
That trans women are male, which is just how it is.
The implication is you're basing this on physical and you're basing this on characteristics that are outside of somebody's control. So if a cis woman goes in there and has a deeper voice or has a squarer jaw or has some facial hair, they could just as easily turn her away because she's traumatizing somebody because she has what?
Okay, bro. Even if you had a raped woman, that had a raped cisgendered woman that had facial hair, I just don't believe that it would be to the level of like a male. Like, they just don't grow facial hair in the same way. Maybe there's like one specific unique circumstance. Maybe that's, but we're dealing with like the fucking real narrow end of the fucking wedge on this. It is like extremely narrow. We're going like down to like absurd, you know, possibilities, which may happen once somewhere, but like generally speaking, there's probably going to be, you know, either you have the woman that looks so much like a man they get confused for a man, or you get the trans person who is so feminine that you can't tell. But I think most of the time there's probably going to be some insight. And yeah, there probably is a question mark of if someone isn't able to get in this particular center for whatever reason, where do we stick these hulking trans women? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to any of this. It's quite complicated when you get to the nitty gritty. But I just think that, you know, this idea of a woman not being accepted because they look too much like a man and they're actually cisgender is probably quite rare. That's like fodder that you see on Twitter. I think in person, when you're talking to someone, you generally get a sort of a rough idea.
What you consider masculine features. Do you think that's fair?
I don't think that's fair, but I doubt that would happen.
Do you think that's... What do you mean you doubt that would happen? I literally have seen women with facial hair.
Trans women very rarely pass as just women with deep voices.
It doesn't matter. There are also cis women who don't
does.
quote unquote pass in exactly the same way that you're saying trans women often don't pass.
Cis women can't pass, they just are.
Why? What do you mean can't pass? Have you not heard of people transvestigating? No, have you not heard of people transvestigating cis women? It happens a lot.
I don't know. But I mean...
Well, it happens.
Okay, I mean, Alec, I've got to be honest, Mary's a bit weak here, I think. This transvestigation thing is like a predominantly online phenomena, okay? Like the concept of a transvestigation is something that people do on Twitter about a celebrity, right? Okay? I'm not sure if this is something that we're going to be dealing with in Rape Crisis Center. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like there's an intuition that generally you go by, which probably is going to see us right most of the time. And those edge cases are going to come up. Maybe we've got to find a way of dealing with those. But we are talking about, you know, a fraction of a percent of these situations. Do you know what I mean? That's my perception of it, at least.
And in that case, I'm saying it's just better to not transvestigate. It's better to not question. It's just, you know, you're a woman. Great. Come on.
Aren't we just ignoring the potential, like, re-traumatizing someone?
If somebody is in a rape crisis center, a group setting, and is being traumatized by another individual who is doing nothing wrong, I have news for you. That individual who is being traumatized is in the wrong place. Okay, I've studied mental health.
So the raped woman is in the wrong place.
There are two raped women there. One of them is not causing any problems, and the other one is because she's saying that somebody else is traumatizing her.
There's two raped women based. Let's go. This is what I signed up for.
Okay, I'm not saying that she's in the wrong. I'm not saying that she's doing anything wrong necessarily, but she is being traumatized, and so that's clearly not the right place for her. She needs to go somewhere else, maybe an individual setting.
Ouch, fair enough. You're a feminist, would you say?
But that's just how that works. I've studied psychology and psychiatry. That's just how that works.
That's fair enough. I have as well, but I mean, I get it. Would you call yourself a feminist?
But how?
I feel like if a woman has been raped, okay, and they're in this rape crisis center, and someone comes in that claims to be a woman, and their presentation is not adequate to pass in that way, and they look particularly masculine, I totally understand why they would be at least a bit perturbed by that, and I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest that they're in the wrong for feeling bothered by that. You know? Because this stuff with trauma and stuff, right? It's not logical. It's not like a logical thing. It's not like oh, well, I'm going to be logical about this. Like, they're clearly suffering from something, and that probably is going to bother them. Now, does that mean you should be mean to the person that is coming at? No, obviously not. You need to treat them with kindness and help them out too. But I just think there is an issue there of stepping over legitimate concerns, as Gunter has exactly done there by going, listen, raped woman, why don't you get over it? Although it is quite funny and based. I'm all for it, okay?
How else would you do it? How else would you do it? Like, let's say this. Let's say you have a woman, a cis woman, who has facial hair, goes into a rape crisis center, and one of the other women there says, well, she looks too much like a man, so I'm being traumatized by it and I want her out. How do we solve this?
Well, if she's female, you solve it by, well, this, they're going to have to
Giving him a razor. Give him a razor.
Determine whether she's female. How do you determine whether she's female?
You have a look, presumably.
Yeah, look, yeah. So at a rape crisis, you are...
Okay. Mary, this is an L on Mary's part. This is obviously an absurd suggestion as well. You have a look. Someone's been raped. And in order to... Come on, dude. That's crazy, bro. Let's have a look at what's going on down there. Let's have a look at your raped gash. See what the... Bro. That is crazy. Okay, that's also like not a good solution to this. Bro. Oh my god. Oh.
Advocating at a rape crisis center when somebody is traumatized by somebody else there because they criticize that person for looking too much like a man, pull their pants down, right? At a rape crisis center.
I mean, it's probably not the only way. I don't know. I don't work at one.
I would love to hear other ways. I
I don't have that answer.
I don't know, dude. I don't know why Mary is talking about rape crisis centers when they clearly don't have much insight into it. This seems silly, and I feel like we're really at the fucking narrow end of this, talking about it like to this level. We're getting into the individual examples. I just don't really think this is a good angle to take it, and I just think it is a complicated issue when you really start to think about it and bring out all these hypotheticals. But yeah, we've just got to, it's about broadly finding a way of taking seriously the concerns of individuals who are going to be using these centers, whilst also recognizing the complexities that a self-ID model brings in terms of allowing people that might cause some sort of trauma, and I don't know, something like that. It's fucking difficult. It's a difficult conversation.
Okay,
Get
you
back
don't
to
have
the
that
rape.
answer because you're bullshitting me.
I'm not bullshitting.
You know that this is, yes, you are. You know that this is not enforceable.
Yeah, it's not the enforceability that we're talking about.
It is absolutely the enforceability that we're talking about. How else are we going to discuss this issue?
Well, you
have a cis woman who goes in there.
Well.
The cis woman has some facial hair, and another woman there says, well, she looks too much like a man. She's traumatizing me. How do you solve this? You know how I solve it? I say, well, the person who's being traumatized is clearly not in the right setting. Okay, she needs help somewhere else. Because a cis woman with facial hair is, which we don't even know if she's cis. And
Okay, bro, there's loads of crazy stuff. Some woman that's been raped gets a bit triggered by some person with facial hair. Get out! Just put in a wheelchair and fucking get out of here. Wheeled out the front door like that. Dude, this is great. Now, what you want, okay? Obviously, you got to kick them out, okay, somehow. What you want on hand are two, extremely muscular, masculine-looking guys, right? To come and aggressively grab and brutally remove them from the premises. Like two big, muscular male orderlies coming along and just grabbing them. Oh, you want trauma? We'll show you trauma. You selfish bitch.
Doesn't matter. But a woman with facial hair is causing her internal pain. And I recognize that pain. I'm not saying that woman's doing anything wrong or that she's evil or anything like that. But what I am saying is that she needs help elsewhere.
How often do masculine-looking women get mistaken for trans?
A lot.
Because I've never heard of it happening in one of our rape centers in this country.
I don't buy this. I don't buy this narrative that online, yeah, there's some stuff like that that's happening, but I don't know. That's like primarily an online phenomenon. I feel like when you're in person with someone, face to face, generally speaking, you're gonna know what's what, right?
Well, it can.
It's a very
Because
niche.
you're basing these things off of physical characteristics.
It's a very niche point, though, right? I mean, we've solved like the
No,
most.
it's not. No, this is the consequence of your view on this.
I mean, it's
Is that we
nothing's
kick
the consequence of
cis-women?
my view. I have
Is
no
that-
power in this area. Trust me.
I
Okay,
well,
that's
I don't think
wonderful.
Mary
But
is.
how do I make
Mary is not.
money
Okay.
off depressed people?
Chud, did you see Badlands Chugs was on Kai Cenat?
Oh fuck! There's an allegation about Kai Cenat. I forgot to get to it. I'll probably look at it tomorrow. No, I haven't. I'm sure it's very entertaining though. Thank you for the super chats. Maybe we'll take a look at that as well tomorrow.
You're saying that it's fine to kick trans women out of women's shelters, but if it's a cis woman who has exactly the same features, like if it's a trans woman and she's got a little facial hair, oh, it's fine to kick her out. But suddenly it's a cis woman and it's fine to stay there? And you're wondering why we have all these discussions about trans rights?
I mean, like I said,
There's no difference between those two.
we're solving
There's no
the most
difference.
niche situation of all time, so I'm not sure.
But this is the consequence of your worldview. You're saying that trans women, like
The stars align,
you say
yeah.
that, but this is your argument for why trans women shouldn't go to women's rape shelters. And I'm telling you,
Because
that's
they're male.
stupid. Based on what?
Based on the fact that they're male, they have male chromosomes, they were born with a penis, they didn't develop
Okay,
breasts when they
so
went
how
through
do we?
puberty.
So you're at a rape center. You accuse somebody of being a man. How do you check that? And what is the procedure there?
I don't know. It depends on the rape
You
center.
don't know. So you're bullshitting me.
Well, no, I tend to talk about these things
Sit
more
here.
in like concept.
Take some time and think about this. Take some time and think about the implications of what you are advocating for. Okay.
I'm not advocating for
Because
anything.
right now, what you're giving me is, well, I don't really know what we should do about it. I don't have the answer. It's slimy. It's spineless. You don't
I don't think I'm
actually
being
believe in
slimy.
anything.
I think
Yes, you are.
I'm just
Well,
trying
no,
to.
I don't think that's unreasonable to say that Mary is being slimy, right? I just think that there are complexities to this that Mary isn't really engaging with, and is just saying like, oh, but they're male, but then, I mean, the cis point is stupid. The cis point is dumb. Most of the time, you'd be able to tell, and I just think it's kind of a bit of, I don't know, like, it's not full debate pedophilia, but I just feel like we're going to these kind of absurd examples. You know, of like a cis woman with facial hair. You know, I just think that there are going to be there's going to be certain circumstances where it's going to be complicated, and we're probably going to need to find unique solutions for those individual contexts, and that's going to be down to the crisis center to deal with, and they should aim to do it in a way that satisfies, you know, everyone essentially. Like, for example, if you got someone that comes in as a fucking trans person and they look like a fucking fella, and it's going to be bothersome, have some sort of resources available that you can point them in the right direction of somewhere else that they can go, where they're going to receive assistance and they're going to receive help, you know? Something like that for those very unique circumstances. Broadly speaking, most of the time, this isn't really going to be a meaningful issue that we need to spend much time dealing with or resolving, I don't think, you know? The male shelter, well, I mean, listen, if they're in that line, like, maybe they're not quite feminine enough to get into the female shelter, right? But they are somewhat feminine. You put them in the male shelter, right? They're like going to be like a lamb to the slaughter. It's going to be fucking, you know, insanity in there, isn't it? Although, wait, I'm thinking of chucking them in with a bunch of rapists. The male guys would also be rape victims, wouldn't they? So maybe I'm thinking of this the wrong way around.
I'm just trying to explore some.
You're trying to
concepts.
wiggle your way out of the implication of your worldview. You're trying to wiggle your way out of it. Yes, you are.
That's fine. Listen, that's fine. Don't worry about that. I was
I'm
interested
very
in
worried
your.
about it.
I was interested in your Marcus video. You.
Men will rape, even those that have been raped.
For him a lot on trans issues. Do you think an ally should do that?
Wait, what was this?
I was interested
I'm
in
very
your.
worried about it.
I was interested in your Marcus video. You talked over him a lot on trans issues. Do you think an ally should do that?
Marcus?
Yeah,
Who,
Marcus did.
the offensive T-slur?
Yeah.
Dude, fuck that guy. Most trans people disagree with him. Who
Why
cares?
don't you like him?
Because he's a
Wait,
trans.
what is this, dude? Yo! That's my weekend sorted. Male sex predator visited trans-inclusive female rape crisis center. Bro, this is the buffet I was talking about, but the other way round, right? The rapist. The fox got into the hen house. Jesus. That's crazy. Dude, what is wrong with me today, bro? I can't today. I don't know what's wrong with me.
trans medicalist.
Is he?
That's my understanding, yes.
What's
And he's
wrong with
also
being a
a
trans
fucking
medicalist?
turf. What's wrong with because you're being a trans medicalist implies that you're not actually like quote unquote a woman or man or whatever unless you go through like the medical procedures to be that thing, and that's silly.
I mean, I don't know if I agree with trans medicalism, but why does it make you a bad person to believe it?
Because you're literally taking people's freedoms away on the basis of whether or not they've had certain procedures done on them.
Not just by believing something. That's just your opinion at that point.
What's my opinion?
No. If the trans medicalist, that's just their opinion. They're not doing anything to people's rights. They just have an opinion.
Okay, it's also a Nazi's opinion that Jews are destroying the world.
Oh my god, bro! Are you? Oh, you actually do what? Godwin's law. Let's go. We're in there. We're in there. Wow. Have you thought that Nazis just have opinions too?
Okay, that's wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
I volunteer as tribute to work at the shelter. I'm just doing my part. 07.
Thank you very much. Musty, appreciate it. Okay, thank you for the super chat.
But they're not doing anything wrong with that belief, right?
Well, they killed people. No one's killing trans people.
Not all Nazis kill people. Not all Nazis kill people. There are Nazis that exist today who have never killed a single person.
Though.
Right, but you're saying that their belief doesn't actually have any consequences.
It doesn't make them a bad person.
Their opinion. Okay, opinions can absolutely make you a bad person.
Okay.
Like, what are you talking about?
What if my opinion is I hate women? Yeah, I'm only ever really super nice to women.
Yeah, that makes you a bad person.
What if I'm only ever super nice to women the entire time?
Okay, you're the...
Yeah, I think actions, I mean, what's in your head? Your actions are what matter. What is in your head is irrelevant, I think, in the broad scheme of things. I think you just have to bite the bullet that if someone thinks something in their head, as long as they don't actually engage in that in the world. Dude, I don't know. This just feels so fucking wishy-washy. What a bad person. Dude. A bad person. I didn't make it more than 5 minutes into this. Where's the conversation about the gender stuff? I heard that he goes fucking full moist critical. Where's that?
Why do they have to invade places for each individual gender? Why not just have a third unisex facility?
But in any case, you know, I don't think that what's in your head is what makes you a good or bad person. It's your actions. And then obviously you've got what is a good person, what is a bad person, etc. I think the point is that if you are a trans medicalist and you believe that someone should go through certain procedures before they can be considered as trans, I don't see how that is in any way going to definitively lead to negative outcomes if implemented. Like, as much as if you think that Jewish people are bad or whatever the Nazis think, because there's inherent, suppression of an individual on some characteristic they've got that is inherent to the engagement of that activity. Whereas in terms of being a trans medicalist, you could just think, well, if you are not engaging in any meaningful approach to being trans, I don't consider you as trans. I guess I just don't see how there's any fundamental oppression that would occur as a result of that, because it could, literally just be a case of ending there. I don't know. Something like that. But this is thought crime shit. This is gay. I don't care what someone thinks in their head. I don't think badly of someone based purely on what they think. It's more so about the actions they engage in, right? I don't fucking know, dude. Maybe you could argue as well that the expression of those ideas and spreading those ideas could make you a bad person because you're trying to spread something which has got oppression inherent within its mentality in terms of thinking the Jews are doing this, the Jews are doing that. Bro, total cancer. Get to the kid stuff.
A very silly scenario because a person who hates women is not going. That's going to have implications on how they treat women.
Maybe.
If you come up to me, you want to talk about a silly edge case scenario? How often do you have somebody who says, "Yeah, I hate women," and then they go out of their way to be like super nice to women and respect their boundaries and behave around women the way that women want them to behave around them? How often do you actually think that happens?
All the time? What is this going about, dude? There's plenty of people that say they hate women and say mean things about women, but aren't like fucking going around raping left, right, and centre and going over boundaries. What is this guy on about, dude? Dude, that's stylo. That's literally describing stylo.
I know someone sort of like that.
Stylo will not rape.
Okay, well, that's your personal anecdote. I'm telling you that that's not the norm. People who say that they hate women are usually going to go out of their way to bring some kind of harm or be annoying at the very least towards women.
But trans medicalists...
Oh, no. Guys, you're a bad person if you hate women and you're annoying to them. What is this take, dude? Who cares if women are annoyed, bro? What substantive harm are you doing to someone in terms of your ideology or beliefs? That's what matters, not what you think in your head.
Hate anyone. They just have a theory of being trans.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
if
it's like bring harm or annoy them at the least, as if annoying means anything. Some people get annoyed irrationally and stupidly. What are we supposed to think about that?
If they hate anybody, the consequences of their beliefs is hatred.
There is
like
no...
it results in the same thing, whether or not it's coming from a place of hate. That's my point.
Yeah, but what does transmedicalism result in?
Yes.
You just have an opinion.
Yes.
It results in a lot of the same things that transphobia results in, where it's like, oh, well, have you gone? It's basically just transphobia light, where it's like, well, have you actually gotten the
okay?
The
now you're on the winning track
to make
here.
yourself a woman.
Now you're going to get him to explain what it is that transmedicalism, you know, without question, unfailingly results in. There isn't a good answer for that, because your transmedicalism could just go as far as, you know, only being willing to accept a person as a trans in your own mind if they're going through these medical procedures, right?
Woman, you know, like, have you actually gone and gotten the vaginoplasty? Let's check and make sure before you're allowed in the bathroom. Like, it's the same thing, except a little bit lighter, because you're saying that yes, you can switch genders, but only after you do X, X, and Y.
I still don't see a problem with that. I think having different standards for what is trans really doesn't make you a bad person.
I just don't understand why a person can't be trans if they say they are.
Well, I mean, whether they're trans or not clearly depends on anyone's perspective, right?
Well, yes, we do live in a society, and, you know, outside perspective is important in terms of, like, gender. Yeah.
Yeah, and every
But
trans
the person
person pretty much gets a mixture of different perspectives, because some people are going to see me as a man,
but
some as a woman.
Have you ever mistaken a woman for a man, or vice versa? Have you ever done that? I'm not talking about trans or anything. I'm just saying, have you ever been in public and you call somebody a woman and they say, actually, I'm a man, or vice versa? Has that ever happened?
That's never happened to me, no.
Okay, it's happened to some people. It's happened to me.
Wait, what did he say? Sorry, I got distracted.
I just don't understand why a person can't be trans if they say they are.
Well, I mean, whether they're trans or not clearly depends on anyone's perspective, right?
Well, yes, we do live in a society, and, you know, outside perspective is important in terms of, like, gender. Yeah.
Yeah, and every
But
trans
the person
person pretty much gets a mixture of different perspectives, because some people are going to see me as a man,
but
some as a woman.
Have you ever mistaken a woman for a man, or vice versa? Have you ever done that? I'm not talking about trans or anything. I'm just saying, have you ever been in public and you call somebody a woman and they say, actually, I'm a man, or vice versa? Has that ever happened?
That's never happened to me, no.
Okay, it's happened to some people. It's happened to me. It happens a lot with elderly people because, you know, as we age, we often kind of collapse into amorphous blobs. So, yeah, like genderless blobs, I should say.
What? What's this going about? Huh? No, you can tell the difference between an old man and an old woman. What a amorphous gender blob? Why does that happen, dude? Why is this guy on about? Even at 90, even at 100, or whatever what's the oldest part, 114 or something, I think. Bro, this is ridiculous. That's not true. He's making shit up. We become amorphous blobs when we get older.
So, okay, that's wonderful.
I mistook this elder woman for a man. I said, hello, sir, how are you doing? She said, it's ma'am. Right? You know what I didn't do? I didn't say, well, no, actually, here's why you're a man. You see, I saw the stubble on your upper lip, and the jawline that you are currently showing me is indicative of male. That's silly. That's stupid. It is much more simple to just be like, oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
I think my problem with, like, the way progressives talk about this stuff is there's this kind of fundamental dishonesty that all of this stuff is super hard to assess and very complicated, and we're constantly getting it confused. You know, I could probably count on both hands the amount of times in my entire life I've mistaken someone for the wrong thing, right? And it's normally like a phone call, they got a deep voice, you get it wrong, you're like, oh shit, right? It's very rare this happens. Like, probably 99.99999% of the interactions you have in your life, you're going to get it right. It's like a total fucking outlier in terms of your interactions. But they want to present it like it's actually more like 25% of the time you're going to get it wrong. And that's just not true. I just don't think that's true. I think most of the time you get it right. And these outlier cases you deal with contextually on a case-by-case basis, you know? Most of the time, our social standards would mean that we just go, oh, sorry about that, and then you move forward, you know? But with this kind of, like, collapsing of the trans umbrella, there are more cases now where I think it's still quite low, but there's now cases where you do have people like the it's man moment, right? That do happen. But a lot of this is you're seeing on your screen. It's actually quite rare that you experience this in your day-to-day life. Unless maybe you're living in some sort of woke, like Portland or something, maybe you see it more. But even then, I think generally you're probably going to go about your day-to-day existence not interacting with people in this way.
Well, no one has
How
to
are
do
you doing,
that.
ma'am?
People don't always say what they think. Like, they might just accept it and
But
be like, I don't
that's
think
the
this person,
end
okay.
result. That's the end result, though, of this idea that like we need to make sure that gender matches sex.
What, that people get misgendered?
That people get clocked and then purposefully misgendered over and over.
That
It's
happens
silly.
anyway. So why demonize the trans person that has different standards to other trans people? That happens anyway.
Because they're reinforcing this worldview.
How so?
Because they're saying, well, you're not really a woman until you have the vaginoplasty, or you're not really a woman until you get on hormones. And it's like, well, that's silly because there are a lot of cis women
Well,
out
hang on
there.
a sec. Well, that's okay. Mary needs to fucking get on this, because to be transmedicalist is not to say you're not really a woman because you've not got your neo pussy installed yet. It is saying that your expression of your transness is at the very least undermined by the fact you're not going through any procedures. And to its extreme, I do not perceive you as a trans individual until you're going through some sort of process, medicalized process, normally hormones, right? It's not that he's taken it to this extreme that you need to have the most extreme surgery done to be perceived as a trans individual, whereas I'm pretty sure most trans medicalists would accept you being on some sort of treatment or hormones or something like that, you know?
Girls as well who have low estrogen and high testosterone. Should we misgender them until they get on estrogen?
Well, I don't know. The thing with that
You don't
is-
know. You don't know anything.
No!
What do you?
Oh, God. Look, to be fair to Mary is quite a small YouTuber. I wouldn't have a fucking... I'm not interested in, like, a gender debate. I need to do a bunch of research to talk about it, you know? Especially one like Gunter that's read all the fucking shit. But, like... Oh, these answers aren't very good. Say, I don't know. It's like, how many times has Mary said that? Like, you need to have a better answer than I don't know to some of these questions that are going to come up, I feel.
You know.
What do I know? Lots of things.
Yeah, what do you know? Because for so far, what I've heard is I don't actually understand any of the implications of anything that I'm saying, but I still stand by them with an iron fist. That's what I'm hearing.
the implications you're talking about are speculation. You're saying
That's
this
not
is what could
speculation.
happen.
That's the end result.
Right.
That's just what happens.
Do trans women have menstrual cycles?
It doesn't matter.
No, I'm just.
Why does
I'm
that
just
matter?
asking.
Do you ever go out and be like, well, I need to know about your menstrual cycle before I gender you?
All the time. I'm joking. I don't. No, never done that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Because that'd
Trans
be
women
weird,
get
right?
menstrual cycles, though. I don't know.
That'd be a freak thing to do. That's something that a freak would do.
No, because you
right?
said before that trans women get menstrual cycles, even though menstruation is the uterus lining coming out.
Trans women, to my understanding, estrogen can cause some symptoms that are similar to a menstrual cycle. I'm not saying that a trans woman can menstruate.
Isn't that just
Okay.
like fluctuating hormones, though? I mean, that always happens. That happens
Yeah,
with
and that's
everyone.
that is often part of menstruation, is fluctuating hormones.
But don't men also have fluctuating hormones?
Yeah, but not to the same degree. At least that's my understanding. I haven't looked into this a lot, but like if a trans woman is saying, I'm getting hormonal cramps once a month, and it feels similar to the way that a cis woman would have cramps when they're having a menstrual cycle, I feel like it's reasonable to say, well, that's kind of like my menstrual cycle. I get it once a month.
Oh my God, no way, dude. Yes, okay. Excellent. We're getting to some great takes. We're getting to some absolutely brilliant takes here. Yeah. Dude. I'm actually feeling like I need a big shit, to be honest. Got some stomach cramps. If you think about it, that's kind of like a menstrual cycle, isn't it? Dude, I missed some of that. Let's go back. That sounded based.
Can cause some symptoms that are similar to a menstrual cycle. I'm not saying that a trans woman can menstruate.
Isn't that just
Okay.
like fluctuating hormones, though? I mean, that always happens. That happens
Yeah,
with
and that's
everyone.
that is often part of menstruation, is fluctuating hormones.
But don't men also have fluctuating hormones?
Yeah, it's part of it, but also what is part of it is the woman's body producing a fucking egg. Like, dude, I can't remember what it is even. Produce an egg, goes to the lining of some part, and then all gets stripped out, bro. Ugh. 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 No thank. Ugh. Never trust anything that bleeds for a week, a month, and doesn't die. Okay?
Yeah, but not to the same degree. At least that's my understanding. I haven't looked into this a lot, but like if a trans woman is saying, I'm getting hormonal cramps once a month, and it feels similar to the way that a cis woman would have cramps when they're having a menstrual cycle, I feel like it's reasonable to say, well, that's kind of like my menstrual cycle. I get it once a month, and it hurts in my abdomen, and I get mood swings just like a cis woman would do.
I get saying it's like it.
This is great. This is great. This is actually casino content. Kino fucking whatever content. So by that logic, then surely, if a man who doesn't even identify as a trans whatever had similar symptoms he could point to, we could say that we are that similar. I think that a lot of that like trans woman period thing, okay, I feel like that is like an utter cope, and it's a fairy tale that trans women tell themselves to convince themselves that they are just like real women. Because although there may be some hormonal similarities, you could argue, I mean, hopefully should go without saying, the mechanics of what's happening are nowhere close to the same in any way. It just seems like totally absurd to grant that this is in any way comparable to a menstrual cycle when the literal mechanics of what's happening cannot possibly exist because they don't have the correct internal parts for it to. Right? This is the cope. It's a cope. And, you know, I don't have a problem if someone themselves thinks that in their head and they want to conceptualize it like that to give themselves that cope. But in terms of like making an argument that that is in any way similar, it just seems absurd when it just is not. It's not. There's nothing happening. There's no physical aspect happening. Bro, I don't like thinking about the inside of a woman, okay? No thank you.
But you literally don't menstruate, so how can you call it like a menstrual cycle?
Why do you care?
I just think it's
get the point.
interesting. Why do
Oh, the classic. Why do you care? Why do you care about this? Why do you, a trans person, even care about any of this?
But you get their point. You get their point, right?
I want.
When a trans woman tells you, "I'm having menstrual cramps,"
No, you're not.
do you understand?
That's what I say.
Huh?
Dude,
They're not. That's just not happening.
Are you in their head? Are you in their body?
Well, I care about the truth.
Wait, what? They literally physically cannot. What? What does he mean? Are you in their body? Don't need to be. They're a male. They do not have the parts necessary to have a menstrual cramp, bro. Huh? Okay. I feel like Alec's stupidity now is starting to hang him a bit, okay? Come on, Mary, get the body blows in here.
Women can't menstruate because they don't have vaginas, ovaries, you know.
They can have fluctuating hormones, just like what happens in somebody who does have a uterus.
So I guess
And they get cramps and mood swings.
Yeah, but that's not
I have
menstruation.
It's not menstruation technically, but like you're nitpicking here. It's just like, why do you care?
Why do I have to?
There are some similarities. There's some similarities.
Why do I have to justify why I care about something? I'm literally trans. Like,
because it seems like you're just doing this out of bad faith to be a piece of shit. Like, why else would you do it?
You are denying that trans women are experiencing menstrual cramps, which is not physically possible, and that's because of bad faith. Okay, dude.
Listen, I care about the truth. I think there's been a lot of lies going around.
Why do you care about the truth?
Because people lie about the shit constantly, and we're getting bited in the ass now.
What's the lie?
We lie about loads of stuff. We're saying that trans women are literally born as women in the bodies of men. That's completely not possible.
That's an oversimplification, but for people who don't understand trans issues, it's usually the best way to explain it.
We constantly pretend the detrans rate is lower than it is. We have a very interesting way of using studies, I'll say.
We don't wait, where are you getting this idea that we underestimate the detrans rate? Where's that coming from?
So detrans rates in studies typically won't include people that dropped out during the study. They count people who went all the way through to the end.
If you drop out during the study, which is your right to do, how can they include people who drop out?
Well, the thing is, most of the ones that drop out, they're going to just desist, right? So they should be counted as
wait. How do you have How do you have any implication of what that person does when they drop out?
Well, because they
dropped out of the study. They dropped out of the study.
You can look up like
maybe they switched clinics.
Well, you think like, is it really realistic that every single person that drops out goes to a different clinic?
A study sometimes involves more work, more labor than...
Dude, this whole study off thing, unless you've pre-agreed studies that you're going to talk about and you've assessed and analysed and are able to talk about in depth what they are, I just think this is fucking worthless. Because you're just chucking studies at each other. You don't know what the fucking ins and outs of it are. You know, I think you either talk about the ideas and the concepts, and that's what you focus on, right? And then the studies, it should be, we're going to talk about studies, and then you have a conversation about what studies you're going to bring to the table. Because, you know, particularly if you're a viewer, you're just lost. I'm just lost on what the fucking studies are going to be, and I'm not going to go fucking look this shit up. It's like, bring to the table what you're going to talk about so you can assess each other's studies and talk about it actually properly, you know?
Not doing the study and just going to the doctor. Sometimes people just drop out. Like, people drop out of studies all the time, but it's only scrutinized in trans studies because of transphobia.
Yeah, but it's not just dropping out of the study, it's dropping out of the
Wait, what? Okay, that wait.
transition.
But it's better than not doing the study and just going to the doctor. Sometimes people just drop out. Like, people drop out of studies all the time, but it's only scrutinized in trans studies because of transphobia.
Yeah, but it's not just dropping.
No. It's not scrutinized because of transphobia. It's scrutinized because we're presumably assessing detransition rates. And what Mary is claiming, don't know whether it's true or not, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but they're only looking at the end of the study, who from there detransitions, whereas there are people that are dropping out, allegedly, that are not tracked, and we don't know what they're doing. And there's no confirmation of what they go on to do. And Mary is arguing the likelihood is they were probably detransitioned, so they should be included in some fashion, and they're not, right? I don't think it's transphobic to look at that and go, well, what's happening to those people and assess what's going on there. That seems like a pretty reasonable line of analysis, because we could be missing people who are detransitioning but aren't included in overall figures. Therefore, we're underestimating how many people in looking at this are detransitioning.
Dropping out of the study, it's dropping out of the transition altogether, and then they don't get counted as detransitioners.
How can you possibly measure that?
Well,
That's
it usually
just
says
hearsay.
the desistance rate on a study.
Yeah, it says
Well, exactly. How do we? And then how can we be sure that we're getting correct assessment of what detransitioning we're seeing if we're not considering these people who we don't know what they're doing, right? Maybe it's better. Maybe it's better for Gunter and there's these people that are dropping out that are continuing treatment elsewhere. Surely that would then mean we want to check, because then we can really nail it on and show, well, no, if we include these people, it's an even better picture and even more people are continuing on.
the desistance rate for those who did not drop out. That's all they can do. That's
The
the best we have.
implication is that a lot of them ended their transition.
No, there's no implication of that. What are you talking about?
Well, if someone stops going to a clinic, presumably they're just
Yeah,
going to stop
maybe
their
they
treatment.
moved. Have you ever moved in your life?
Never. I've been sat here since 1990.
I think, yeah, it probably... Well, I guess, yeah. It probably is reasonable to assume that. Because if they're just dropping out completely, they're not moving, normally that'd be tracked. Yeah, I mean, you probably would presume that they're not engaging with treatment anymore.
90.
Okay, apparently you have, because sometimes people move and switch clinics. Sometimes people drop out of studies for other reasons, see a different doctor. Sometimes, you know, like, sometimes you still identify as trans, but like you don't want certain hormones or you don't want certain treatments. Like, there's all kinds of things that can happen. That doesn't mean that everybody who drops out, you have to assume that they're desisting.
You don't have to assume everyone.
That's anti-scientific.
Okay, but some of them likely are. And if we're not capturing those people, well, then we're not getting an accurate figure, right? And for the sake of accuracy, if you care about science, any, you know, outliers or issues you would want to clear up
Okay,
so that
that's
you've got
wonderful.
the best possible
But
information,
how do I make
though.
money off depressed people?
Thank you for the super chat. Can you DM me Mary's info? I mean, I don't have any info to DM you beyond what is publicly available, okay? Fucking weird.
You don't have to assume everyone. Even if it's just a few, that means the detrans rate they've reported is lower than it should be.
You can't assume anything about them. They're null. They're null factors now. They're out
And
of
I think, you know, Don BJ makes an interesting point that I think, knowing not loads, obviously, I'm a layman with this shit, but a little bit about this, is I feel like there are games played with this. And I feel like when progressives and stuff look at this, you know, they're always quick to get to the stuff that plays these games that benefits them. You know? But then when there is stuff like the Cass report, which I don't think is perfect by any means, you know, I'm not saying it's a perfect document beyond reproach, but that gets dismissed out of hand because that starts to pull at the string of their studies that they love to tout so much of like, well, they're not actually as good as you think they are. And then that's debunked, that's nonsense. These studies that I've got about fucking 15 Swedish trans people, they're actually rock solid. And what more questions could you have? You know?
the study.
I don't know. To me, there's an implication that
Okay, well, you're wrong.
they ghosted
You're just
the clinic.
you're scientifically and logically wrong.
They haven't proven that I'm scientifically wrong.
You are scientifically wrong. You can't measure that scientifically. You can't. Once you drop out of the study, you can't measure that person anymore. They dropped out.
Yeah, but what if they start putting their testimonies on the internet like some detransitioners do? What if there was a question on a big like Reddit
That's
board
not part of the study.
and most people are coming back saying, nah, I just ghosted my clinic. I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Okay, here's what you do. You do another study on people who were part of those studies. and you say, okay, these are the people who are part of this study. Here's what happened to them. That's very difficult to do, though. So that's why you don't see those. Because if they dropped out of the study once, they're probably not going to sign up for another one.
Well, they didn't sign up for a study. Half the time, the studies are just using the data from the clinics. There's every chance I've been in a study because I went through my whole process, you know? But
You can't assume that somebody stops being trans just because they stop going to a clinic.
Why do they deny D-trans exist? Well, I wouldn't say they deny it, but they do everything they can to avoid admitting or facing up to the fact that there's some people that go through this entire process and for whatever reason end up changing their mind. And often the people that are detransitioning get very harshly treated by some of these trans individuals. And it's because, you know, it creates a doubt, a reasonable doubt about some of this stuff, doesn't it? Particularly when we're talking about younger people expressing gender incongruence. It's, well, they show that maybe they'll change their mind, so we need to be more cautious. Whereas often, particularly these very kind of like, you know, aggressive online progressive trans advocates, they push for an affirming model. They want an affirming model of care at all points. Even when they're young, they say we should affirm their gender. Whereas detransition suggests that we should at times be more cautious, and maybe endlessly affirming gender is not necessarily the best way to do it. If there's a risk that putting them down that pathway, they end up changing their mind, they may have gone through certain procedures that they can't come back from. So it creates a sort of hole in the logic that we should endlessly affirm gender without question. And obviously, particularly progressive trans people don't like that. And I think it also probably has some sort of personal things tied to it too. You know, the idea that at any point their mind could be changed, proven by this person that has changed their mind. You know, they want to be insistent and no, this is the way I am without question. I don't want to change course. There's probably lots of personal feelings wrapped up in it as well, you know? So it's all quite complicated and shit. It's why the science and stuff is the best stuff to look at. But a lot of it is still quite small scale and, you know, all very niche, small scale. You know, that's why when people push for the idea that this is settled science of the, you know, oh, trans kid stuff is settled science, it's just totally delusional and wrong and a lie, if anything.
Maybe they're happy with how they look and they quit going for that reason.
It's not all about looks, you know?
You get my point.
Well, I don't know. Surely you'd assume that it's a bit of everything, and therefore the detrans rate is still low then.
All you're saying is that you don't trust the results of these studies.
Well, no, I'm giving a reason as to why the number that's reported is low, and then people make videos.
And you don't trust
the
them,
detrans rate is like 2%.
Even though these studies, yeah, what's the detrans rate? You said 2%.
Well, that's what people cite, but it's I'm 100%
What do you think
sure
it is? What do you think it is in your expert opinion? Yeah.
My expert opinion.
Yeah.
My expert alter isn't fronting right now, but my less expert opinion is, I don't know, 15, 20%, something like that.
Okay, 15, 20%. So you're saying that we should then make 75, sorry, I can math, 80 to 85% of trans people suffer because those 10 to 15% desisted. Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. I just want people to stop lying. I want people to be honest about.
What do you mean lying? Who's lying?
Everyone that says that there's a 2% detransition rate is a lie. They don't know that. They can't know that.
That's the data that's held up by like every medical institution in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing.
I mean, that's not a good thing.
Well, they're all.
You don't trust medical institutions?
Not these ones. I don't trust WPATH. If
you
you've
don't
read
trust
the
these ones.
WPATH
Where do you go when you have cancer?
Where do I go when I have cancer?
Who do you trust? Do you trust the Endocrine Society?
I don't go to an org.
Whose data do you trust for cancer treatments?
I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
Bro, cancer treatments are like well established, well researched, well studied, extensively, okay, and have been for like a long time. Compared to like some of this trans stuff, which is experimental, new information, some of it having now been assessed more directly as not being up to scratch, right? Like the idea that you try and invoke cancer treatment when you're talking about trans shit is insane. Like it's a totally different point in its history of medical and scientific assessment. Dude, bro, I can't believe that he's genuinely trying to invoke this cancer comparison. It is literally the definition of comparing like apples and oranges.
How about the Endocrine Society?
Well, I can look at them, but you know, if I decide that I don't think their data is very
reliable.
reliable.
For you, all the cancer treatments come from the Endocrine Society. Basically,
we're not talking about cancer.
Okay, but you're talking about.
Wait, what? Is that even true? Come from the Endocrine Society? What? the cancer treatments are based on a collage of research, data, and studies that has been collated over the course of decades. It doesn't just come from one place. What? What is he on about?
Trusting medical institutions, and the Endocrine Society is one of the medical institutions that upholds the data that we have on trans care.
And I've done
So why do you
zero-
trust them? So why would my question is, why would you trust the Endocrine Society for cancer, but you wouldn't trust them for trans issues?
Well, the Endocrine Society isn't the... What is he on about? He's like acting like, no, this is not true. It's based on a, like I say, decades upon decades of research, analysis, data, double-blind studies, whatever fucking shit. I mean, you know, if you talk about the research and data and studies that's gone into fucking cancer stuff, it's like a stack of papers this big. But the trans stuff, it's like this, to put it in a simple fashion.
I'm not saying I
Seems
would.
very selective to me.
I'm not saying I would.
You know, okay, so you would not personally trust the Endocrine Society if you have cancer. You're
I
gonna
don't
go get some
know. I don't have
holistic care,
cancer.
right?
I've never had cancer.
Yeah, also, no, DH is right. Endocrinology is hormones. Oncology is cancer. So I think he's even getting the terminology wrong. But anyway, dude, this guy is just making this absurd comparison. I just don't think this is a valid comparison.
I don't
Okay,
think
well, what
it's
if you
good
get it?
to
You
talk
could
about
wake up to you could wake up tomorrow with a lump on your neck. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So where would you go?
Hospital.
Hospital. Okay.
NHS.
They tell you have cancer. They tell you have cancer. Here's the prescribed treatment. This is coming from the Endocrine Society. What do you say?
I don't know. I know nothing about cancer.
What do you mean
I'm
you don't
kinda-
know? What?
Oh, God. Stop saying, I don't know. Just feels like Mary's doesn't have an answer for anything that's being talked about here. It looks terrible.
What you
putting
say
my
is,
life in their
yeah,
hands.
I'll take the fucking treatment because otherwise I'll die. That's what you say, right?
Ah, but there's the problem. There's the problem. That is premised on the idea that cancer, the cancer that we are dealing with, is fundamentally lethal and without treatment will kill you. That's not necessarily the case with trans issues. The idea that trans issues would ultimately result in you dying if not treated in the way that they suggest isn't true. There's no good evidence to back that up. The suicidality thing is, off the top of my head, based on kind of like flawed analysis, and it isn't as solidly nailed on as people want to say. Whereas with cancer, it's, you've got this cancer, if you don't treat it, you will die, right? Whereas with the trans stuff, it's, you've got this trans stuff, if you don't treat it, there isn't actually a guarantee that you'll die, and also there could be other forms of treatment that may be beneficial for you that don't need the most extreme kind of treatment case, you know, as transitioning hormones, etc., that you would need.
Presumably, but it's got nothing to do with
Presumably.
trans.
Yes, it does, because the same medical institution that is researching and putting out data for cancer are the ones researching and
And
putting out data.
also, yeah, cancer is like there's a physicality to cancer. There's a physical thing that needs to be treated. And again, well studied, but you've got a fucking lump here, and these treatments will reduce the size of the lump and remove it, whatever. Whereas we're talking about a more mental condition in terms of the transgender dysphoria shit, which could potentially be treated in a multitude of ways that don't need physical intervention. Dude, fucking hell. See, this is annoying. It's like Alec is making dumb points, but I feel like Mary is not doing a good job. And I'm not going to be too hard. Mary's only got 1,000 subs and stuff like that. You know, it's just like, there needs to be more than I don't know. I don't really like the I don't know.
Data for trans care, but you trust them on one thing and not another. Why?
Yeah. I listen. The Endocrine Society,
Why?
I don't know very much about. I
Okay.
know next to nothing about
They're a
cancer.
very
I've
well-
never had it.
They're a very well regarded institution when it comes to endocrine issues.
What about
Okay.
WPATH? Do you
What
trust
about
them?
WPATH?
They run practically any country in the world. They probably run their stuff if it's not the UK and Sweden and stuff.
I don't know that much about WPATH, but
Well,
I
you
know
should
that
look
every
into
single
them.
medical
It's
institution.
interesting.
Okay, well, what are they saying?
Well, they had people. First off, you'll instantly learn if you look at the WPATH files that they do operate on children, which is nice. But there was things
we go.
like
Operate on children? How? What do you mean?
vaginoplasties.
Here we go.
Which is
Yes.
nice.
Yes.
But, there
Come
was
on, please. Give me what I've been looking for, please.
Things like
Operate on children? How? What do you mean?
vaginoplasties.
Okay, did that child what were they doing? Like mutilating their penis or something? Like, was there a reason for it?
Well, no, they had
Have
a
we looked into why these were
vaginoplasty 'cause
performed? Or did they just
they-
do it for funsies? Were they like, oh, the doctors just wanted to do it for funsies, right?
They did it for the same reason that I would have got a vaginoplasty for their children.
Oh, so for mental health reasons, right?
Kind of.
Yeah. So that's fine.
So you're fine with children getting cross-sex surgery.
Let's walk through this.
Oh, yes, there it is. Finally. Yes. Alec Gunter is fine with children getting vaginoplasties as long as it sorts out their mental health. Based. Now we're talking. Now it yes. Now we're talking. Incredible. Thank you for the super chats.
No, I would prefer they wait, but let's walk through this. Let's say that you have a child who is horrifically dysphoric about their genitalia. What do you do?
I have no idea. I don't have kids.
You don't. Yeah,
oh,
you don't.
Come on. Well, the answer is that you would give them the best psychiatric care available in order to help understand and figure out and see what's going on. But there's got to be some stuff that's off the table, right? There's got to be some stuff that's off the table, because otherwise they're going to be going through a life-changing operation that they cannot possibly come back from, which, if they go through puberty, may actually mean they don't need to have it. It's not like cancer. A kid's got cancer, okay? They don't grow out of that. They're not going to change their mind about it later. They have got cancer and it urgently needs to be treated. Whereas with this, you're giving them something that is irreversible, that they're too young to potentially comprehend the fucking circumstances of. Meanwhile, they've got all these other mental health issues floating about in their head. Please, Mary. Please. Please, Mary.
What do you do?
I have no idea. I don't have kids.
You don't. Yeah, you don't, do you? Because you haven't studied any of this or thought
I wouldn't
through
transition them. How do you know I haven't studied anything? That's a bit rude.
You haven't. You could either you haven't studied it or you haven't thought through it.
I've definitely thought
Because
through
I'll tell
it,
you what
and
you
I've
do.
definitely studied it.
I'll tell you what you do. You take that kid to the doctor. You say, "Doctor, my child is so dysphoric about their penis that they're mutilating it." Okay? They're literally sitting there trying to get it off themselves. This has happened before. Okay? Not very often, not all the time. It's not the standard, but it does happen. So what do? Sometimes
You take him to the doctor and the doctor, yeah, let's lop that right off. Job done. Surely we have a broad, holistic assessment of what is going on and figure out what the situation is. Okay? And then we have a line in the sand and we say, if that is what we think eventually will help this person, we at least wait until they're old enough to contend with the fucking thought process of this. I personally think bottom surgery is, you know, this isn't just because I'm a got clever, according to you, not to me, to you, okay? I genuinely think it's like, that is a very extreme procedure, but, you know, I'm not even sure if adults are in a good place to fucking make that decision. But regardless, whatever you think about the adult thing, the kid thing, that is crazy. There's got to be a line there because it's such an irreversible treatment that could, they could desist later. There could be other psychological interventions that can help them. Yeah, I don't know. Just feels like we're in a very dangerous game if a kid can state suicidality. And then even if a kid was to eventually top themselves off the back of that, I mean, what's this, like, you know, this idea of, oh, just do that to them and then maybe that will help them. I mean, like, you open yourselves up to all sorts of problems, don't you? Oh, a kid is saying a kid has been cutting at their arm and they say they're going to top themselves unless we cut it off. Like, this is where the kind of medical ethics come in and you have some lines in the sand just to prevent you from, you know, potentially engaging in behavior on a condition which they could change their mind on and they could change their perspective on later on that has irreversible life-changing effects. Holy fuck, dude.
you give them a vaginoplasty.
Wait.
Literally sitting there trying to get it off themselves. This has happened before. Okay? Not very often, not all the time. It's not the standard, but it does happen. So what do? Sometimes you give them a vaginoplasty.
Casual.
You can probably count on two hands the number of vaginoplasties that have been performed on minors in the last 50 years.
Oh no,
okay?
it's more than.
But sometimes it happens, and we should leave
It's not happening, but if it is, it's a good thing.
We should leave that up to the doctors, not up to bureaucrats. Okay.
I say that we give doctors some limitations in order to, like, I think that's probably fair. I think we probably have some lines in the sand. I think one of those lines being, we shouldn't give vaginoplasties to children when they're in the midst of a cocktail of mental health issues, including potential gender dysphoria. I think we should just hold fire on that person. I think we probably wait a bit on that, okay? Holy shit, dude. Yeah, that's another point as well. At what point, how many child vaginoplasties need to be conducted before you start raising an alarm bell that maybe there's a problem here? Jesus Christ, bro. This is crazy. This is Moist Critical Mark II Glup Shitter edition.
Well, the alternative at the time was that they were going to cut off their own penis.
in this very specific.
Take your choice.
I don't even know if any of the people they've.
Yes, it is
operated
very
on did
specific,
that.
isn't it? It's a fringe case.
Yeah, I don't even know
Yes.
if that represents any of the cases I've read about.
So you're talking about the exception, not the rule, right?
Would have been performing lobotomy. Gunter would have been performing lobotomies on gays and women in the 1950s, and that's why I'm a gun guarder. Children, get presumed gay children. He'd be performing lobotomies on. Dude.
No, I'm saying that they operate on kids.
How many?
Shoot.
And for what purpose?
Well, for the same like for trans purposes, you know?
How many 10, 12-year-olds are they giving vaginoplasties?
I think Marcy Bowers said that she'd operated on like 10 to 20, something like that. I can't remember.
10 to 20. And what period of time?
I have no idea. This was
Okay.
overall, probably through her career, something like that.
My point is, I'd rather leave that up to a doctor than a bureaucrat. A team of doctors, preferably, and healthcare institutions, people who know this shit,
But then what if they
who can make judgment calls like this.
But then what if they regret it and want kids and now they can't have them ever?
As I'm saying, the alternative sometimes is worse, okay? If the alternative is suicide, then yeah, sometimes the vaginoplasty is fine.
This is again another false narrative that progressives like to present on the basis of, I can't remember the details of this, I need to look it up. But this narrative that these people, these kids will definitively kill themselves if you don't do it is way overstated. And again, because of the nature of these things, it's very difficult to actually ascertain what is the product of their suicidality. And the idea that it's, an ability to discern that it's because of their gender incongruence and it's because if we just give them a vaginoplasty, they'll be happy again is insane and not, as far as I understand, backed up by any meaningful, credible data or research. It is like a truism that has been created on the basis of shitty research in order to emotionally pressure people do whatever it is the trans activists want when it comes to this issue. That's my perception and understanding of it. But I would need to look it up to really clarify the points on that.
What if they end up being suicidal because they regret it?
That's a great what if, but we can't know that. We can't look into the future and see that. All we know right now is that we have a kid who's suicidal, trying to mutilate their own dick, all right? And so the best course of action is just to give them the vaginoplasty. And that doesn't happen very often, mind you. This is like a very fringe case scenario you're presenting me. But I'd rather leave that up to doctors. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you rather leave that up to doctors?
I don't think
Or do you know better?
Now listen, son. Okay, you've obviously been displaying a lot of unusual and alarming behaviour here, right? I thought maybe we'd be able to send you to therapy and get some help and guidance, but apparently that's actually bad. That's conversion therapy. This doctor here says we've got to give you a vaginoplasty, lad. So that's what we're gonna do. Gunter's like the guy from that movie I showed you. You know that doctor who that guy rapes his daughter and she gets traumatized and kills herself or whatever. So as revenge, he kidnaps them and forcibly transitions them, including giving them bottom surgery. Gunter's watching that movie like, yeah, oh, that's what I'm talking about. Doctor knows best.
Hang on. I don't think I'd call it fringe to
The
say
skin I live
that
in.
someone who's had a part of them taken off and now regrets it as they can't have kids or something. I don't think
It's
it's fringe to
because
say
it
that that's
barely
suicidal.
happens. First of all, I don't know if I know a single case of somebody who's had a vaginoplasty at like 12 years old and now regrets it.
Maybe you should have looked into
In
it
fact,
more.
I barely know any cases of that happening at all.
Maybe you should have studied it more.
Maybe I should have studied it more. Give me a case then.
Give you a case. I don't have one to hand.
Yeah.
Dude. I think Mary's got a lot to learn from this. I would not. Some of these points I think I'd probably be okay on, but other points, especially with the studies and stuff, I would need to look it up and research. So yeah, I don't know. I think Mary's got to work on this kind of like I don't know thing. If you're talking to someone about this stuff, you need to have a much better baseline of insight to be able to talk about this, I think.
Maybe you should have studied it more. Maybe you should have had that on hand.
Yeah, I guess we can go back and forth like this.
Yeah, because you're wrong.
How come you won't debate Malcolm? What's up with that?
Malcolm. You mean the offensive T slur?
No, that's Marcus. Malcolm, FT Mongoose or something? Seems like a nice guy.
FT Mongoose? I never said that I wouldn't debate him.
Okay, I might be off.
Oh, that's an L.
That's what I heard.
Why would I don't know where you got that. I know who that is. We used to be on good terms, and then he dicked out on me because of something that happened with some other creator.
Oh, what did he do? Was he mean to you?
Yeah, he was very mean, and I had my feelings hurt. Yes.
If you do that, you're quite mean to other people though. So is that would you?
I'm
mind
perfectly fine being mean to dipshits like you. That's fine.
that? Okay, I think I've been quite nice to you, but
Bro. God, he's so obnoxious, isn't he? Like, Mary has actually been, I mean, if anything, quite soft and, you know, like, whatever. But, like, what has Mary said that's that offensive, really? I mean, what the fuck, dude?
I don't care. You're wrong. And you refuse to accept that you're wrong. And you keep saying, oh, I don't know. I don't know the implication of my worldview. I don't know how we would go about the bathroom bans. I don't know, but I just know that I'm right, right?
Do you think you know my worldview?
I've gotten a pretty, actually, I don't even think you know it.
The start, oh, I see. I see. So Mary came into this thinking this was like a more casual conversation. And Gunter's turned it into some debate. Is that right?
I don't think you've sat here and thought through. I don't think you've sat here and thought through, well, what is the implication of keeping trans women out of women's bathrooms? How does that look? And I'll tell you how that looks. Genital inspections. Is that what you want?
I just feel like the implications of keeping trans women out of trans bathrooms versus the implications of acquiescing to a suicidal child and conducting a vaginoplasty on them. Sure, the first instance is likely to happen way more broadly, but like the second thing seems like way worse. The implications of that being the case, to me, would end up with worse outcomes, particularly as these kids grow up and maybe do have these regrets. And there's literally no way back from that. It is done. And they've made that decision likely at an age before they've able to conceptualize what that even looks like and what that means, you know?
Not personally, no.
Yes.
I don't think that would ever
just
happen.
Let trans women use the bathroom. Just let trans women use the bathroom.
I don't think that would happen. I don't think anywhere's going to pay for people to inspect genitals. I don't think it will be constitutional or anything like that.
You're right. What's probably going to happen, okay, is that there are going to be people who point out who they think are trans, okay? And a lot of the times they're going to be wrong. It doesn't matter if they're wrong anyway, okay? Because it's just not a very appropriate or...
Dude, so now he's back on this ground. Like, I feel like Mary should have got more into the body blows on the kid stuff. I think that was where the ground was most good. Do you know what I mean? I feel like we kind of lost by going back here, really.
A good thing to do in a functional society. Just let people use the bathroom they want to use. They're not hurting anybody.
It's not an appropriate thing to do in a functional society.
No, it is not an appropriate thing to say, well, I think that you have the wrong genitalia and you should not be in here. That's not your business.
Well, I mean, it's a women's bathroom.
Okay, but by this logic, like, what? So, I could walk in there. Right? Is that, I mean, what would stop that then, if that was the case? If there's no way of even trying to discern legitimate intent of, like, what you're expressing. There's no, you can't even do that. All right, you fucking sluts. Having a little piss, are we, you sluts? Oh, worried about my cock and balls, are you? Well, tough luck. That's my business. I'm going to take a shit while you sluts have a nice piss.
Surely it is a woman's business if they're in there.
It's not anybody's business what you're packing. Why are you so cucked to this? You're a trans woman. Why are you so cucked to this?
I'm just interested.
You're not just interested. You are cucked to this idea. You've told me, not told me, you said during your stream earlier, because I was listening, that you don't even use public bathrooms. That's cuck shit. That's cuck behavior.
Well,
I go to a women's bathroom.
I haven't gone anywhere in a pretty long time that there be a women's bathroom to use.
That's cuck behavior. What? Dude, this is right. This guy's supposed to be an ally, and he's berating a trans woman because, I don't know why, but presumably maybe they're uncomfortable or something with some of the things that could happen off the back of that. Fuck me, bro. That's a bit rich even for my blood, I gotta say.
So, I don't know which one I'd use at this
Okay,
point.
well, maybe you should touch some grass.
Yeah. I touch plenty of grass.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, yeah, people give me a lot of life advice, you know, it's fine, it's fair enough. You know, I know why people do it, and it's fine.
By this logic, nothing could stop Chud from walking into a woman's bathroom and dropping a massive log in the stall while blasting Nickelback on his portable speakers. Okay, dude.
You know, you can do that, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
How come women can't be misogynist to each other, but trans people can be transphobic?
What are you talking about?
That was something you said.
Something I said. When did I say that?
A woman can't be misogynist. I can't remember.
I never said a woman can't. I never said a woman can't be misogynist. They absolutely can. There are plenty of women who are misogynists. What are you talking about?
Okay, that's fine. It was.
Oh, dude, no, I don't like this. No, Mary, no. It just feels like Mary's putting something to Gunter but doesn't have it nailed on. And then Gunter just goes, well, that's stupid. And it's like, you want the clip or something if that's something he said? Wait. Is that from chat? I don't think so, is it? I'm not seeing it here. But anyway, I don't know, dude. It's yeah. If you want to get him on something, you got to have the clip lined up, nailed down, bolted on, gocked up.
It was in one of your videos. I don't remember too well.
Oh no.
Okay, well, if you can find that, let me know because I have no idea what the context
That's
is.
okay,
But women
that's
can
okay.
absolutely be misogynists.
Yeah, that's fine. And like a can a black
This
person?
is a 600 view video. How do you find this? Are you Mary? I've been watching Mary's career with great interest. No, it just got. I think it got posted in Queeman's Discord. And, you know, I like to have a little look, see what's in other people's Discords being recommended to look at. And I saw this and I was like, damn, I'll take a look at this. So if anything, it's Queeman that is observing more than me, to be honest, okay? Queeman is taking a closer look at the Gok.
Racist to a white person.
Individually, sure.
Okay, fair enough.
But there's not a, I would say there's not a systemic element to it. But yeah, and individually, a black person can be racist towards a white person, yes.
That's fair enough. Oh, what was gender dysphoria? How do you define gender dysphoria?
I love you, Mary.
That's a little complicated,
trans.
but basically
Why don't
it's
you
just
conform to me wanting to watch
if
your
I had to
kids?
simplify it,
Tell
it's
us
just a
your voice notes.
misalignment of a person's gender, a person's sex at birth with their gender assigned at birth.
That's gender
So,
incongruence.
Okay, this is my understanding of what gender dysphoria is. You
Yeah,
you
gender
are looking at
dysphoria.
yourself. You're looking at yourself in the mirror. You see a gender. You see like sexual aspects of that is typical of one gender that you wish were or were not there.
Yeah, it's just unhappiness with
And
your
that's-
gender. It's got nothing to do with your identity matching or not matching your body. It's just the unhappiness. That's all it is.
Okay, it's best treated with gender affirmation therapy.
Well, potentially.
Wow. See, there. This is the progressive line. It's best treated with gender affirmation therapy. Well, what does that look like? What does that mean exactly? Are we talking about putting a dress on for a bit? Or are we talking about lopping your cock and balls off? And are there other means with which, like this the line that progressives push, that therapy is useless, that therapy is just like conversion therapy and therefore shouldn't be even entertained, even with kids. And I'm thinking, well, you know, if there was a way of engaging in therapy that wasn't conversion therapy, that wasn't like saying, no, you've got to, you know, a religious underpinning, but it was just talking about it, and maybe there was a way of alleviating it, well, surely that would be the better option, would it not? Like, you'd much rather have therapy that would lead you to a place where you're comfortable rather than going down the medical route of like hormones and stuff immediately, or that's the way that you go, surely. I don't know, it just seems like there's this resistance to this idea that therapy could potentially alleviate some of these issues, but progressives will call that conversion therapy. I don't know whether Gunter does. I'd imagine he does, but I could be wrong. But that broadly is the way that progressives tend to look at it, you know?
That is literally the truth.
I mean,
That is the best treatment for gender. That is the best treatment for gender dysphoria.
I think that
Gender
really
affirmation.
depends on the case, no?
Okay, what's the alternative?
Well, it's not a great idea to transition someone that is then going to go back on it.
Therapy.
Well, some people do, and we can't help that. But the vast majority of people, and really all gender affirmation is, okay, especially for kids who are like 6, 7, 8 years old, is saying, you know, you have Tommy who wants to go by Sally now and wear a dress. So what's wrong with that?
I mean, wearing a dress by itself is fine. It depends if you're
Yeah.
doing an awful lot of other stuff to, you know, affirm something that they might just grow out of.
If a 6-year-old is saying, I'm Sally, I want to put a dress on, okay? First of all, I would probably presume that that isn't what Gunter was suggesting it is. But secondly, there's no way you're going to convince me that a 6-year-old is thinking like that. That's just crazy to me.
I don't think going in as a kid is a
Like
great
what?
idea.
Like what? Like, so Tommy can't be Sally?
Well, I
You
don't know
can't
if you'd be
just-
changing
you can't
your
just call
child's
her
name
Sally?
just because they think they're a girl at like the age of 8 or something. That sounds a bit much to me.
But that's part of the treatment.
Well,
Because
the
Tommy is
problem
Tommy is a gendered name for boys.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Wearing a dress doesn't make you female.
No, but it does help alleviate the gender dysphoria. So I think it's fine.
But it's like the thing is with affirming, you're kind of loading the dice. And if they're going to then go through some treatments that they might regret.
What do you mean? What do you mean loading the dice?
Yes, this is actually something that came up, I believe, in the Cash review. But it's the idea that there should be some court, like the idea that it's just completely fine to put them in a dress and that's the end of it. There is actually some, this is off the top of my head, I believe there was some information that suggested that it could actually lead down that pathway, and it could be considered the first step. You know, it's not like puberty blockers where it is seemingly more conclusively a step. It is like, it could be a step, so just be cautious. So this narrative that it is just completely acceptable without problem, I don't know if that's actually strictly true. And I think that, I mean, look at Finster, for fuck's sake. But in all seriousness, there should be caution there, and it should not be seen as a consequenceless decision, and there could be further ramifications, but I think it's still quite early days on that thought process, and it's not fully fleshed out.
Well, if you change a kid's name, it's going to be quite embarrassing if in a couple of years they're going to like go back on it. Like
They can just change the name back.
Yeah, I think Ali makes a good point here. For turf. Have everybody telling they're a girl obviously makes them freak out more about male puberty and more likely to ask for some developmental stunting. Puberty blockade. Yeah, that kind of intuitively would stack up, right? I mean, the point is not that we know conclusively what will happen, right? It's also just more so like, just be careful, just be cautious. And don't presume that just because it's putting a dress on and your conception of that is it's consequenceless and easily reversible without question. That may not necessarily be the case. And proceed with caution and with a mindset of, you know, therapy or talking therapy, whatever, as a first kind of instinct.
Well, yeah, but there's like the social pressure attached to it now. The fact you're going to go back and have to deal with people being like, oh, yeah, you remember when you were a girl?
Yes,
you know, stuff
exactly.
like that.
Yeah.
Like, kids are horrible to each other, you know?
Yes, exactly. It's like the social consequence and this narrative of, oh, just make society change. I just think fundamentally it's going to be... the way that gender is imbued upon us from a very young age, I don't know if there's ever going to be a shift or there's a use in having a shift to a point where we would have it where kids would interchange their gender each day, or like, you know, one day they're Sally, one day they're Bob, and we just be like, yeah, that's fine, that's cool. I think there's always going to be an inherent, you know, aspect of children as they grow up that they're going to spot these differences and point them out. And I don't know if we can ever shift to a point where that wouldn't be the case, where that wouldn't be an issue. I mean, obviously, kids being nice to each other and not doing stuff like that is great. But whether that's a realistic goal based on how kids tend to develop and whether we can change society to the point where kids don't have that instinct, I don't know. Like, kids, as they grow up, are just naturally curious and they question things and they query things, you know?
So it is kind of
like, I remember one time on the bus, right? This guy in a wheelchair, he's got no legs beneath the knee, buzzes on, sits there. One of my kids loudly goes, "Why has that man got no legs?" I was like, "Sorry." And he goes, No, that's okay. I get that sometimes. I'm like, okay.
Loading it.
It's not. I don't know what you mean by loading it. It's literally just the best. It is
They're more likely to
clinically
transition.
the best treatment that we have. Huh?
They're more likely to transition if affirmed.
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
because the alternative is keeping them in the closet.
Well, yeah, but they might just grow out of it. And what if they get like a mastectomy or something?
Yeah, they
in the
might, but we
meantime?
can't see the future, and most of them don't.
Where do you get that most of them don't?
It's from statistics that I've seen.
And what if we didn't affirm them? Wouldn't there be more not going through with it?
The alternative is saying, no, actually, you're a boy and you need to wear boys' clothes and keep your boy's name, and then they get anxiety and depression. Is that a good alternative?
Well, I need
Wait,
to...
why is he saying that as if that's a matter of fact that that's going to happen? Dude, this guy. I love that. Oh, I saw it in some stats, actually.
be a specific case. I've never heard of that specifically happening, you know?
You've never heard of people with gender dysphoria who are not affirmed having anxiety and depression, and you're a trans woman?
Well, I mean, you're putting
That's
it in a way
bullshit.
that
You're bullshitting
necessarily
it.
will happen, you know?
9 times out of 10, it does.
Wait, 9 times out of 10...
Gender dysphoria, most of the time, the problem with it is secondary depression and anxiety. That's the dysphoric element. Like that's the result of the dysphoric element.
Well, sure, but I mean, people experience that for a lot of different reasons. And I mean, is that
Yeah,
worth,
and
is that
in
worth
this
cutting
case,
someone's breasts off and then they regret it, you know?
in this case, the best way forward is, first of all, you ask the kid, well, what do you want? What is it about your body that you don't
Kids
like
know
that's
what they
causing you
want.
anxiety and depression? Kids can sometimes know what they want. There are
Adults
certain
don't even
things.
always know why they're depressed or anxious.
What was that, Alec? Okay, this is a bit bad faith. This is a bit much. I don't truly believe he's a nonce, okay? But it's just funny.
Anxiety and depression. Well, you ask the kid, well, what do you want? What is it about your body that you don't
Kids
like
know
that's
what they
causing you
want.
anxiety and depression? Kids can sometimes know what they want. There are
Adults
certain
don't
things.
Kids can sometimes know what they want. I mean, he's just the way he says stuff is crazy. But I mean, obviously, there's a very limited range of choices that we offer children, and it often amounts to very trivial things, right? You know, do you want this for dinner or that for dinner? Do you want this chocolate bar or that chocolate bar? That drink, this drink or that drink? You know, do you want to walk to school or catch the bus or whatever the case may be, right? Like, give them options like that are quite low stakes. But when we're talking about more significant
Okay,
changes,
that's wonderful. But how do I make
we
money
often
off
don't
depressed
just
people?
go off what they want because they're not going to necessarily know the implications and the broad picture of making those choices. Thank you very much for Australian dollars. Alec reminds me of a more stupid Tim Pool. You know, and it's like over time you allow them a bit more of this decision making, but it still is quite limited. And funnily enough, it is when 16, 17, 18, that sort of age bracket, that's where you really start to take those training wheels off and they're allowed a lot more autonomy and decision making, right? But before those sorts of ages, generally, it's quite limited. But yeah.
Know why they're depressed or anxious.
Okay, well then we should just take it away for everybody then. Don't let anybody get any surgery then.
Well, no, I
Because
mean,
they might regret
based?
it. Right?
we don't have to go straight to
Based.
the extreme case just because there's
Sure you
problems.
do, but you might regret it. So why should
Yeah.
why were you allowed to get a surgery? You might have regretted it. You might regret it tomorrow. You might wake up and say, I wish I'd just kept my dick.
Because, I mean, well, actually making a lot of transphobe arguments there, Alec. But, you know, a lot of transphobes would agree with this. Well, Alec, actually, I mean, the obvious answer is, you know, informed consent, and I'm going to make informed consent about medical procedures. It does get quite sticky and it does get complicated because if you open the door to vaginoplasties, you know, the argument is it's essential surgery. Others say it's elective surgery. Well, if the argument is it's elective and it's not actually necessarily the best way to treat it, could we have arm cutting off surgery and so on? It does get a bit sticky, okay? But just to keep it simple, at a fundamental level, a child cannot give informed consent in the same way that an adult can. They're literally not able to conceptualize these decisions in the same ways that an adult is generally able to. That is, of course, the difference.
Right?
But I'm not going to.
But you might. You don't know that.
I do know that.
What if you do? Oh, you do know that. So you can predict the future.
No, but wait. Oh, Mary, it's because you can give informed consent as an adult and a child cannot do that. God, Mary just is not good at answering the correct way. But there's a better answer to that than just, well, me personally, I'm not going to regret it. Well, what if an adult does regret it? Well, that's why we have informed consent in medicine. So the doctor lays out all of it to an adult that presumably has got a sound mind to understand it, and they then make a decision. Like any medical treatment that you get, unless it's emergency and you're unconscious or whatever.
Future?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna do
I'm
that.
just using your logic.
I'm not a child.
Yes. And
But
what does
you
that
already
matter?
just said that sometimes adults don't know what they want.
Yeah, true. Do you not agree with that?
It's a true statement, but in the context of this conversation, you're saying that adults sometimes don't know, like adults like aren't responsible beings that can make decisions on their own.
That's not what I'm saying. We don't
That's
always
kind of
know
what's
what we
implied.
want. We often will think something's what we want, but actually it isn't. You know, that's just how it is.
Children, they understand the concept of gender by the age of 2, and they identify with one gender or the other by the age of 4.
How do they understand gender by 2? What do you mean by that?
What I mean is they can pick out what's considered a girl's, quote unquote, a girl's plaything or color or any indicator of a girl, and they can pick out versus what would be considered for a boy. Like by the time you're 2, you can.
What? Oh my God. Oh, little Timmy has picked up the doll. Time for the vaginoplasty. I know that's not what he's saying, but it was funny. Okay.
You can say, well, a truck is a boy's toy and a doll is a girl's toy.
Right, but that
So they
doesn't
have
mean
a
they should then,
rudimentary understanding.
that
So they
doesn't
have
mean
a
they should
rudimentary
then,
understanding.
that doesn't mean that they understand transition.
At the age of 4, like I said, by the age of 4, the overwhelming majority of kids identify with one
Yeah, also the concept of gender, right? Like, it's very simplistic for a child. Okay? Like, the variance between the concept of gender between a child and a fucking adult is worlds apart. And then he's saying it's, oh yeah, they're picking up the boy's toy. It's so crazy.
gender or the other. So
What
you
does it
have a
even mean to
4-year-old
identify with something?
by saying I'm a boy or I'm a girl. I understand myself as a boy or I understand myself as a girl. Your brain is
So-
developed enough at 4 in order to understand that.
So let's say a child makes that decision at 4 that they're going to transition. They go through all the steps, and then in their early adulthood, they start changing their mind. They've made that decision as a 4-year-old.
In the vast majority of cases, that's not what happens. This is an appeal to the fringes.
It doesn't matter. Like, this can happen.
It does matter because the alternative is that 4-year-old grows up, goes through childhood.
Damn, so he's this guy. This is funny. Gunter's more than happy to play with the fringe hypotheticals, but when Mary presents it, he recognizes that sounds bad or looks bad, so he swerves away from it. So Mary should really press him on this and get him to answer to this idea. If he thinks that a child can conceptualize gender at that age, if someone was to go down the path with it, socially transition at that age, etc., how do we account for that if they then decide later that they don't want to transition and this big mistake has been made when they were younger?
And then puberty that they probably don't want. All right, and then they're way higher likelihood to have depression, anxiety, and suicidality. That's the alternative. So that's the dice you're rolling.
Well, I don't know. Like, I think not being able to breastfeed kids.
I know you don't know.
Like, I think that can cause suicidality as well. There's harm on both sides of the equation.
This is silly. This is ridiculous.
No, it's
we have
obvious.
ample data. We have ample data that not affirming somebody's gender in their formative years can cause anxiety, depression, and suicidality. It has a
What's
high
the data
likelihood of doing
based
that.
on?
What do you mean? What's it based on?
Like
It's based on
testimony?
the medical criteria for anxiety, depression, and suicidality.
Yeah,
How
but
else
is
do
it
you
based on
determine if somebody's-
testimony?
How else would you determine if somebody's depressed?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure, right? So yeah, it's based on testimony. You go in, you take a depression test, and if it turns out that they ask you a series of questions, I can't remember the name of the test, but they ask you a series of questions about whether or not you're depressed, and if it comes up positive, you can only go off of that person's answers. And if it comes up positive, then that person's depressed. We have no measuring stick. We have no magical tool for it. That's just what we use. It's an assessment.
Sure.
It's a subjective assessment.
Can a
what it's
4-year-old
called.
understand that kind of thing?
A 4-year-old can be depressed, yes.
And can they understand the implications?
How would you even begin to assess whether or not a 4-year-old is depressed? What is he on about, dude? I don't think their brains are even developed to the point where the things that cause depression, apparently, I mean, it's a bit up in the air in some ways, but can even occur. Bro, a 4-year-old with depression. They could be sad, obviously, they could be upset. But normally that's a regular part. I'm not familiar with this idea that I've never heard of this before. Like, clinically depressed? I'm not familiar. I'm not even sure if their brains are developed to that point where the kinds of mechanics that happen that apparently cause I don't know, dude. They can get depressed. Yeah, but like clinically depressed? Can an infant be depressed? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm off the mark on this. Can an infant be depressed? Oh, this seems to be more about mothers. This is from the NHS. Depression does not only affect adults, children and young people could be depressed too. Yeah, but how young are we talking? I don't think a 4-year-old has got an adequate ability to express something which would allow us to assess that they're depressed. I just don't see that as being the case. Like, you know, if a kid is like, you know, older, probably, yeah. If they got like a better understanding of language, they would express themselves better. But, you know, 4-year-olds, I just don't know. Even if it was possible that they could have those things, how would they even express it to you? How would you even be able to assess it? But yeah. Anyway, maybe there's some other information I could look at, but according to well, it's not clear on the NHS. They didn't give an age bracket, but yeah.
Indications of beginning transition.
They can. What's wrong with a 4-year-old changing their name and wearing clothing, like a different style of clothing? What's wrong with that?
Because it can lead to further steps, which can lead to having parts of you taken off, becoming sterile, and then you've got the whole rest of your life to potentially regret.
But you're saying, so you're saying there's nothing wrong in itself with a child just going like just having a different name. And by the way, you don't even really have to have a whole lot of surgery, thanks to puberty blockers. If we just you know, go through the proper steps here.
Yeah, because your genitals don't grow properly and they like atrophy sometimes, right?
That's extraordinarily rare.
Don't people also not grow properly in general? They end up like getting dwarfed by their peers. They end up getting like, isolated and stuff.
Puberty blockers are reversible.
How reversible?
Oh no.
Fully?
Very reversible. Like the overwhelming majority of the time, it is entirely reversible.
Doesn't it depend on
the overwhelming majority of the time? Well, that raises the question. What about when it's not? What about that minority that you're alluding to but not addressing there?
You get off the puberty blockers and you go through normal I shouldn't say normal, biologically assigned puberty of that person.
And there's no effect of doing that later than naturally.
There might be. I mean, usually the effect is like a difference in height.
Oh, he said reversible, but now he's saying that there is actually interesting. That isn't it?
Or you know, like in very rare cases, there are like certain bone problems, but those can be circumvented by taking vitamin D and calcium supplementation. So
yeah, but how's someone going to feel about having bone problems because of a decision they made as a child that they then went back on as a teenager?
The likelihood of you having significant, you're talking about this is another appeal to the fringes. You're talking about a very, very small minority of people. It's not likely. It's not likely. I am answering. This is a problem that does not really exist.
Well, no, it does.
There's always been a lie. It's the height of medical hubris to think that stunting adolescent development is reversible. You literally cannot undo it. You can only stop it and hope all is well. Yeah, exactly. Medical intervention to prevent the because it blocks the hormone release and stuff, right? It prevents your body from naturally releasing the hormones that are needed for puberty to happen. I mean, the thing we will point to is the bone density shit, but there's also, in fact, Ali, the resident turf, always quotes this one. Marcy Bowers themselves said that if puberty blockers are taken at a certain point in natal males, long term it can actually prevent you from being able to have an orgasm as an adult. Right? What was the thing? I can't remember. Tanner stage 2 or something. Acts on the pituitary gland to stop the binding of GnRH, which then downstream stops the gonads from working. The old gonads. Edge for okay, dude. It's a bit weird because we are talking about, you know, but as an adult, I mean, it sounds gross to say, but like obviously, if you're a child, that is not something you would be able to meaningfully think of. You know, at the start of your puberty, you would not be able to conceptualize what that would mean or look like or feel like as you're an adult, right? So it's crazy to think that you would say it's reversible when one of the risk factors is this. Which is something that Marcy Bowers themselves has stated, this person that works Storypath. So this narrative that it's completely reversible is false. And that's not even getting into the potential bone density issues. And, you know, potential long-term effects that we may not even see, you know, the outcome of. Because you need to remember as well, this treatment is designed for precocious puberty, right? Is this too much for a main channel thumbnail? Wait, what the fuck is that? What is this, dude? I like it. I say use it. I reckon it'll be okay. I think we should use that. Dude, that is crazy, bro. Oh. Can we change the tone of this so it's more brown? Can we match the tone of the skin? Is that possible? Maybe we could do that. Okay. Work in progress. Work in progress. I like where this is going. I like where this is going. Okay. Oh dear.
It's not reflected in the
People
data.
desist. People detransition after having had
At a very low rate.
Well, how do you know what the rate is?
Because we've done studies on it.
Like what? What study?
I can look some up if you want.
That's fine. But I mean, the point is, like, you go through puberty blockers, you potentially cause
so the thing I was going to say is puberty blockers obviously originally have been used. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it. I'm a layman. My understanding is they're used to treat precocious puberty, i.e. your body is attempting to go through puberty too early. You know, which obviously due to certain physicalities of a child could have negative consequences if that happens. So it's used to prevent a sort of flaw in the body. It's used to prevent the body acting incorrectly, right? So it's kind of like, well, you need to do that because otherwise there could be lots of negative consequences from going through puberty too early. And people say, well, because it's used on that, it's therefore unquestionably acceptable to use here. But the difference is, of course, is that your body is acting correctly. Your body is going through puberty at the correct time, and you are preventing your body from working correctly. So in the first instance, the body is being stopped from operating incorrectly, whereas in this case, the body is being prevented from operating correctly. But people point to it and say, well, it's used for that, so it could be used for that. It's the classic thing of like off-label treatment or treatment using a medicine for something it's not originally designed for. Is you need a lot of studies and information to assess whether that is appropriate and acceptable and the negative consequences it could have. And again, off the back of this CAS review, it's been shown that the studies aren't actually that good and there isn't good information to back this up.
But how do I make money off depressed people?
The regret rate is low, correct? Because we have medical gatekeeping. The same gatekeeping Gunther would consider transphobic.
Thank you, McMahon, for the $10. Well, exactly. And this like... tradition, this affirming model, it's not always been an affirming model. You know, the affirming model is a newer concept that we're pushing, but we don't necessarily have the data and information to back up that is the right thing to do, particularly with kids. You know, it's fucking crazy. And these people are like fucking mad scientists pushing this fringe ideas as like the norm, and it should be the norm without question.
Irreversible things. Do yourself, and then you've got your whole life.
It's a percentage of a chance.
But you won't speak to those examples. You won't speak to anyone that does.
That's because there's risks and complications present with any medical procedure. The doctors are in charge of weighing the alternative.
Why do unnecessary medical procedures?
The alternative is that a child has anxiety, depression, and suicidality. That's the alternative. So if that's what we're talking about, then a tiny fraction of a chance the child gets bone problems.
God, it is the kids are going to kill themselves. Do it or the kids will kill themselves. Bro. I remember when I used to sound like this. A long time ago now, but even so, very embarrassing to think about. Total emotional gay manipulation. Give me the puberty blockers now. And not even backed up by good data or evidential information. It's not even backed up by anything good. It's not even backed up by anything good. It really isn't. There's an article about it on the BMJ. I can't remember it exactly, but it goes into it and talks about the problems with the research that's used to back this statement up.
Later is negligible.
Or becomes infertile, they want kids, or...
Exactly, McMahon, yes. And it's, you know, this is just a thing that, like, teenagers deal with fluctuating mood as a product of their puberty. So the idea that we're then throwing this in there as the conclusive thing that's going to solve their issues is crazy.
has a mastectomy, then wants to breastfeed their child but can't. There's quite a few different
Puberty
scenarios.
blockers do not cause infertility.
No, the problem is, if you go on puberty blockers, overwhelmingly, you're probably going to go on to the next stage.
Yeah, Dickers. Yes, good point. Alec is talking about the risks of treatment in a probabilistic way, but he's talking about the risks of avoiding treatment in an absolute way. Yes, exactly. He's saying the risks of treatment, there's a probability this could happen, but if we don't, then they'll get anxiety, depression, and suicide, when that is also a probabilistic thing as well. That isn't absolute at all.
But how do I make money off depressed people?
Very good, Dickers. Good work.
That a percentage of trans T-transistors is comparable to the number of trans in society, therefore any argument against them is applicable against trans writ large?
Sure, maybe.
HRT start
Gee,
getting
why is
surgeries.
that? Why do most people on puberty blockers go on to the next stage? I
Because
wonder
of
why
that
that is.
affirmation, because they're being
Yes,
put on a
because
track.
they like living as that gender.
Wrong. That's not even back. That's not. This is not anything that, like, dude. This is like a sort of assertion that these progressives make based on nothing really, based on like intuition essentially, right? Whereas I believe the argument now, the prevailing theory, the prevailing ideas about this are that if you have your puberty blocked, there could be things that happen during puberty that would allow you to become more satisfied with the gender that you were, or the sex you were born with. You're born and observed at birth. Not that just like, oh, they must like it. Well, no, there could be vital changes that are withheld that maybe would lead to a different outcome. Like this narrative that a kid on puberty blockers then is just happy. Like they think this, oh God, they think it's like a magic pill. They think it's a fucking magic pill. Like they've got the smorgasbord of mental health issues, one of which is expression of gender incongruence. You give them this pill, a puberty blocker, and everything's fixed and they're happy again. It's fucking ridiculous, bro. Absolutely insane.
You know, it's because they like it. They might be getting more attention for
Most
it.
of the time, yeah. Because as long as you're giving them the option, you're saying, hey, that's what puberty blockers are for, is to give you the option.
But it's overwhelmingly leading a certain direction. It's not giving the option.
No, it's not. You're going back to
Yes,
the
it
doctor.
is.
If you're having regular.
It is. It literally is. It fucking is. In the fucking science he fucking quotes so much, it is absolutely predominantly leading to then HRT. This time to pause thing is not borne out in the studies, and the vast majority of people that take puberty blockers go on to hormone therapy.
Regular checkups, your doctor is asking you questions about how you're doing mentally and all that. You know, your mental health checks out, your physical health checks out. You're doing fine on the puberty blockers. We're going to keep you on the puberty blockers as long as you think this is still what you want. And
Yeah,
then
the
when you're
doctor's
about
gonna say
16
that.
years old, what?
Like your doctors are crazy. They'll transition almost anyone in the US. Some
What
of
the
them
fuck are
anyway.
you talking about?
Like I've read testimonials of people, the lengths they will go to. They had one person that they refused to treat because they were like hallucinating in the consultancy room. Everyone else they'll treat. I've watched DID patients coming out with like mastectomies. Why are they being treated if they're that, you know? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, the problem is, this is a bit too anecdote, Andy. I know where Mary's coming from with this. It's just... Mary could do better than this, I think. I know it. I feel it. I can
Okay,
feel
that's
it.
wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
I just got out of a coma from 2021, what we talking about?
Thank you for the $5. Appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know. There's probably things you can point to with that. What was it? The W power files. I just think that you don't need to go here to make this point. But the thing is, I'd need to research this to know the exact right argument to make about this. But this is all rooted in, you know, looking at the increased rate of children presenting at gender incongruence clinics and shit. You then need to look at the rates at which people start puberty blockers and then go on to HRT. You then need to try and find a way of analysing the detransition. It's all a very complicated piece that you need to understand to really make the best arguments about this, you know? But that's where the answers lie, in all of that information, based on having read stuff about this before. But it is very, like... I feel like Mary's half-cocked here, okay? Mary's walking into this half-cocked, and I don't think has got all this information to hand to fucking bang on. But if you research this, you can make good arguments from Mary's side. It's just half-cocked, okay?
Hold on. DID patients?
Yeah,
where are
like
you
people
going
on
with this?
TikTok who either have DID or pretend to, and they get things like mastectomies and stuff. Like, should
Why
someone
are we
like that
talking
be...
about TikTok? what I'm saying is, I don't know how we got here. What I'm saying is, as long as you're going to your doctor, getting regular checkups, and your doctor knows what they're doing, and the vast majority of the time they do, and that's why you trust them as your doctor,
How do you
right?
know?
How do you know? Okay, so you just don't go to the doctor then. Just don't go.
Not what I'm saying. I'm asking how do you know whether they're...
You don't trust your doctor, though. You don't trust your doctor, so don't go.
That's not what I'm saying.
You don't trust doctors, though, so just don't go. You have a
It's
heart
not that I
attack,
don't
fuck it,
trust
you die.
doctors. I just don't
You're
know that
saying
they
you don't
know that
trust
this is
doctors.
right.
Yeah, you don't trust them.
You're essentializing.
No, I'm not. You don't trust doctors.
No, I'm asking what if there's an issue?
Right. Sometimes there is, but the overwhelming majority of the time, there's not. And doctors are the ones who are best suited to make those judgments.
Okay, I'm going to skip a bit of this because I do want to end stream in a sec. I was up quite late last night playing Call of Duty with Aiden. But let's... I want to see the end because it looks like it kind of maybe cuts off in a kind of bad way. I don't know. Let's see. There's only like 10 minutes left. Fuck it. I'll just keep watching.
Judgment calls.
We should just forget about any fringe cases. They don't matter. Is that what it is?
I didn't say forget about them. They should be studied
Yeah, but you have.
and reduced as much as possible.
But
I
every
didn't
time I
know.
brought up an example, you said
You're
it's a fringe
talking about
case.
taking a child. You're talking about taking a child and subjecting them to potentially suicide because
No.
there's a fraction of a yes, you are. There's a fraction of a chance they might have a bone problem from puberty blockers.
This is
right?
like manipulative.
That's what
They'll
you
kill
want.
themselves.
Bro, this is exactly what Dickers is talking about. Okay? This is exactly what Dickers was talking about. Using probabilistic language about the treatment, but using certain language about lack of treatment. This is bro, now you've pointed it out. This is such fucking dishonest shit to say, well, they might get bone issues if we give them puberty blockers, but they'll definitely kill themselves if we don't. Literally just laid out there, clear. Holy fuck, dude. It's really annoying that trans advocacy has been overrun by gawk-loving chasers who just want to sissify more AGPs. No offense, Chud. Okay.
Themselves. Give them what they want or they'll kill themselves. The manipulation.
At a higher rate, yes. There's a 40% suicidality rate. Have you heard of this?
Trans
Many people
people.
are saying this. Of trans people, yes.
Yeah.
Also, like, yeah. Like, there have been medical scandals where doctors have prescribed things or they've engaged in certain treatments that have turned out to be bad. Each day that passes, I do get a little bit closer to the you know, the old, what is it? Lobotomy shit of like, are we dealing with another lobotomy situation? I know that people like Ali will be like, yeah, that's definitely what it is. I'm not there yet, okay? I do see that. But yeah, I think that whilst it's silly to just blanketly not trust doctors, I do think that America in particular has got an extremely egregious approach to all of this and a full steam, in some places, a full steam ahead affirming model, even when other places like in Europe, like the UK, some Nordic countries are taking a step back from that model. It seems like organizations like WPATH are pushing ahead and are bringing along medical doctors, organizations, etc. along the way. And I'm like, but hold on, wait a second, okay? Maybe you need to pump the brakes a little bit on some of this stuff.
Not just like kids. And by the way,
Okay,
why would we teach kids about like trans identities if it's going to bring them into that group? I wouldn't want my kid to like learn about this stuff. I'm trans now. Oh shit, now you've
Why
got 40%
not? You're
chance of
trans. You're
killing
literally
yourself.
trans. Why would you not want your kid to understand that it's possible to be trans?
Well, I wouldn't want them having ideas put in their head because truthfully, I don't know.
But this is all like fucking conspiracy baiting. Like this is bullshit. Like
It's not conspiracy baiting. If okay, this is how like I've got a seven-year-old lads. One of them is on the spectrum somewhere, we believe. Okay, if I was to ongoing and continuously tell them that they were a girl, right, and it was a continuous effort to do that, they would believe that. And I think that's what you're seeing in some of these cases. Like, you're going to convince me that someone has got 3 trans kids? Pull the other one. There's one person making the decision, and that's the fucking parent, okay? There's no way that you're going to have 3 kids being trans in one family. The statistical likelihood of that, before the age of 7 or whatever, it's like fucking absurd. And there's not even one case where that's a situation. These celebrity families who got these trans kids. It's the fucking parents putting it in their fucking head. I'm telling you it's what it is. There's no way. It doesn't make statistical sense that would be the case. So, you know, this ideas in the head thing, yeah, I do not think that children beyond a basic, everyone's different, be nice to each other, should be learning anything about this shit. It should be, with time, eventually they get to understand these dynamics, but not at a young age. And anyway, is this being put upon them? It's insane. They got other concerns other than fucking gender shit to worry about.
Nobody trying to stick ideas in people's heads and trans them.
So like what I'm saying is, you teach these kids about these like different gender identities and stuff. Are we giving them words to put their feelings to? Or are we telling them how it is? Are we giving the framework to them to then pick out what they identify as? Is that not putting thoughts into their head? Like, why do that? Why not let them figure it out themselves and maybe teach them in secondary school or something?
Most of the time they do figure it out themselves. In fact, that's usually how it works.
Well, why teach them
like there are a lot of parents, I could send you videos. There are a lot of parents who are just normal, average, everyday parents. Sometimes there was a conservative family who had a trans kid. And they had a trans kid because the kid came up to them and said, hey, they were born male. And the kid said, I'm actually a girl. I'm a girl. And the parents were like, what do we do about that? I've never heard of this. This is a new thing for me. And then they take the kid to a psychiatrist. And guess what the psychiatrist says? Your kid's trans.
Yeah, of course they do. APA, innit? They love that. Or a WPATH.
You don't trust the APA?
Maybe. No, they're dodgy. I don't know much about them, but
they're dodgy. Dodgy how?
Be careful. No, I don't know much about them, to be
No!
honest.
So
Mary. I think the problem as well is Mary is obviously engaged presumably with the NHS over this trans stuff. There's clearly a lack of knowledge with the American stuff. And I, know a bit, but not enough to have a debate about it. I'd need to do research myself. But I feel like if Mary did research about the American side of things, a lot stronger rather than just vaguely poking at it, If he's talking about Kai Shapley, that is a homophobic mom who spanked her son for being girly, then realised he really was actually a girl all along and medicalised him. God, you know all about this shit, don't you? Hey, what's that about?
So where should somebody go if they're suicidal?
I don't know. See your friends, see your family.
You don't know. You just don't know anything.
You're asking a very general question. There's a lot of different answers.
I don't know. It's it just is what it is. I don't know anything really. It's just I just have these very fun ideas about why we should restrict trans care for people. I don't really know anything though about like the implications of my worldview. So I just don't know. I don't know. Right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know. You just don't know. Like where does somebody go if they're suicidal?
It's getting heated.
Where does somebody go if they're suicidal? Just answer the question.
She's not a debate pedo, Chud. Why do you want to make her into one? I mean, Mary. I don't know if Mary will watch this or not. But I feel like I'm, just trying to give pointers, or this is my own thoughts of how I'd handle it. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe that's not even the best answer. Maybe there's other answers that are better. Maybe I'm a retard as well. I just think that there's a lack of preparedness that is really doing Mary a disservice, and I think there are good answers to some of this stuff. But Mary just needs to do more work to get to a position of being able to talk about this shit. And some of the answers are out there. There's a bunch of stuff from the Cash Review. There's stuff on the BMJ talking about how the suicidality point has been massively overstated, and so on and so on and so on. Mary was in chat a bit ago. I didn't see that. But yeah, no. I think that Mary just needs to update the knowledge a bit, and I feel like there's maybe an element of coming into this and maybe expecting a conversation. And I think that Alec Gunter is a debate guy, so you're obviously going to get the debate stuff, and you need to be ready for that, But yeah, I think that there's stuff here that could have been pressed on more. President Sunday is way more. I mean, President Sunday is coming at this from the woke angle, but I do think he's probably got quite a lot of insight that would be useful to Mary, even if Mary disagrees with his positions. That would probably be a good person to speak to about this.
Where does somebody go after suicide?
But obviously, if Mary wants to talk, happy to talk. I just don't like, dude. I'm not like a debate guy. I don't want to be like a lecturer. Like, this is what you should do. No. It's just broad general advice of, do research into the American stuff, have answers to these questions, think about this, look at previous debates they've done. I don't know, something like that.
There you go.
It depends on the person. Like, to someone that can, like, to their family, to their friends. Like,
no, it doesn't. You might.
Oh, everyone goes through the same thing.
If you are experiencing overwhelming suicidality, you should go to a psychiatrist.
Or like see a friend or a family member, right? Talk to them.
Or a professional who studied this shit and can help you.
Yeah, but they don't know your life, do they?
You can explain your life to them. That's their job, is to interpret that for you. They're
Yeah, the thing with someone like Alec is, be prepared, certainly, to make the point, so you don't look like you know what we're talking about, where you're saying, I don't know. But the trick is, I think, to get him on the rhetoric stuff. So when he starts talking about vaginoplasty for children, that's where you really want to dig deep, because you're like, you sound insane. And then you want to nail him down. Okay, so how young are we talking? How young do you think it would be acceptable to give a kid a vaginoplasty? And then you can kind of use the logic against them. And it's like, okay, so you're saying that if a kid is expressing suicidal intent, you would be willing to give them a vaginoplasty in order to save their life. What if a 4-year-old was saying that? Would you do it then? Do you know what I mean? You could really fucking mess around with it. Whereas your position, presumably my position, is 18. That's the cutoff. And even if there's cases, you have a hard line in the sand, in order to prevent putting this treatment on children who don't understand it, and then later on, whatever, But you can really get someone on their own logic on it and make them sound totally absurd. And I think someone like Gunter, who's like a rhetoric guy, that's the direction you probably want to take it, rather than trying to, really go hard into the meaningful conversation, because Alec is just going to try and look good, essentially,
Psychiatrists, they've studied it. You don't trust psychiatrists?
Everyone that's suicidal should.
You don't trust psychiatry. Just say that you don't trust psychiatry. Just say it.
But that's not what I'm saying.
You are saying that. You're saying if you're suicidal, you should just go to a friend or family member.
Well,
you don't have to go to a
psychiatrist. Depends on the person. A psychiatrist
it does depend on the person. And sometimes the family or friend can help. You're right. Sometimes they can help. But if you're suicidal, you should go to a psychiatrist or a mental health professional.
Maybe.
That's the first thing that like every fucking doctor and normal person recommends. Go get mental health.
A bit ableist.
What?
Normal. Yeah, a bit. I'm trans. I know I'm a bit abnormal.
Well, I said normal, like as in smart, as in they have an IQ that's not 30. Okay? That's what I meant.
Okay. Do you know a lot of people like that? Oh,
yeah,
like
most
me,
people.
Fair enough. Does getting angry in debates usually help you, do you find?
I get angry at dipshits.
Well, yeah, but it's just a conversation. It's not personal, right?
It's a conversation that I'm having with somebody whose IQ is below room temperature.
Oh, okay. I don't know what room temperature is like in Ohio. It's quite low around here, so I don't know about that.
Well, that's what you're giving right now, so I don't know what else to tell you. You keep saying, I don't know. When I have news for you. When you are suicidal, you should seek mental help. What a concept. I know, that's like crazy that anybody would ever think that.
Talk about your feelings.
Or do both. You can do both. Why not go to a psychiatrist? What's wrong with going to a psychiatrist?
I'm not saying there is. I don't know how we got here.
You're not saying there is. So you're saying that the psychiatrist can help, right?
Potentially.
Are we calling this Bugman Ray? Bugman Ray.
Okay, potentially. So you trust a psychiatrist?
Well, it depends on the psychiatrist. Right? Like, I don't understand
in
why.
In general, you trust the idea of going to a psychiatrist for mental health care if you are having suicidal
thoughts.
He
just looks like, even though I think Mary has got some issues in the approach here, like his spurging out when Mary's so calm, it does look bad. It's the kind of like the optics thing, right?
That's correct.
Maybe, but like when I've looked
into it. What do you mean, maybe?
It,
give me a straight answer.
What?
You're so dodgy. Are you a troll? Are you trolling? Is this whole bit just like, like did you start your YouTube channel as some kind of big troll to like get under
this
to
Russell? This is real. I can't pull this out.
What are you? Like what is this?
What is this? I'm just asking a
trans ally. Should somebody go to a psychiatrist if they're having suicidal thoughts? I have a news for you. The answer is yes. Like the answer is yes. You should go to a fucking psychiatrist if you're having suicidal thoughts. Huh?
You only like trans people when they agree with you.
He's bugging out.
Right.
No, do you? I'm asking you. I'm not telling you. I don't know how you think. That's why I'm asking.
I don't hate you because you're trans. I hate you because you're stupid and wasting my time.
I don't think that's true at all. I'm I thought allies.
I feel like this kind of like obnoxious, Vosh-esque, brusque approach is just outdated. I don't think people really relate to this anymore. It's the chud dunking thing, isn't it? I'm going to be rude and belligerent to you because we disagree. Particularly when Mary is not really done or said anything that's particularly egregious,
Be like pillars of the community. You can go to them with questions and get
Just because I'm an ally doesn't mean I have to kowtow to every one of your stupid fucked up beliefs.
But don't you think conditional allyship isn't allyship at all?
That's not conditional. If you came to me and said, hey, I'm a trans woman and also I think Jews are running the world and we should kill them all.
But I don't.
Whoa! Hey, that's pretty stupid and you're a bad person. That's not me being transphobic.
Alec, what was that?
Then we should kill them all.
But I don't.
What was that?
I'm going to came to me and said, hey, I'm a trans woman and also I think Jews are running the world and we should kill them all.
Whoa, Alec, what the fuck, bro? Whoa. Call it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
I'm going to say, hey, that's pretty stupid and you're a bad person. And that's not me being transphobic. That's not me being transphobic.
But I've said nothing of the sort.
Right? No, you haven't. But this is the end state of your logic.
No, it's not. You're speculating again.
Alec is absolutely sick of the Zog Chow.
Yes, it is. You're saying because I disagree with you, you're doing it, Bull. Because I disagree with you and you happen to be trans, I'm not being a good trans ally, right?
Yeah.
You want me to kowtow to every fucking thing you say because you're trans?
You're aggressive towards me because you don't agree with me. It's a bit like the Marcus Dibb thing.
Because I don't agree with you, yes. Not even just because I don't agree with you, because I don't agree with you, and also you're stupid. That's why we don't agree.
Is being stupid a crime? Is that a bad thing, necessarily?
Sometimes it is.
Because it was the same with the Marcus video. He said almost nothing like wrong, and you just were getting angry. It was a bit jarring, to be honest. I thought you were an ally.
What was the Marcus video? Is that the offensive T slur? I keep forgetting.
Yeah, there was a Spanish woman, I think, something like that, crying because she didn't want to tell someone she was trans, and then they rejected her. He gave some pretty milquetoast advice, I thought. I don't know. But it's like, he's a terrible person. He's a grifter. It's like, what's he said?
If I recall correctly, he was shitting on her the entire time and then saying, well, I just care about you. I just care about you. And people love to do that. They love to be like, well, actually, you're a terrible person. Cynicism. And also you're really fucking weird. And also like you should, not exist. But also I just care about you and I'm just giving you good advice. It's pussy shit. It's slimy.
How's that slimy?
He's a slime ball.
What if he means what he says?
It doesn't matter. If he means what he says, then he's stupid and slimy.
Oh, okay. Well, like, I mean, hang on, give me a sec.
Oh.
Yeah, you said something like people who don't date trans people, if their preferences against that are assholes.
If you don't date somebody specifically for the reason, okay, this is a nuanced conversation. If you don't date somebody specifically for the reason that they are a trans person, that does make you an asshole. Now, let's break this down a little bit. I won't date trans people, somebody says, right? Some guy says, well, I don't date trans women. Okay, why don't you date trans women? Well, I just don't like penises. Okay, that's fair. That's a genital preference. Okay, but what about somebody who has a vaginoplasty? Well, actually, I want kids. Actually, I want. It's literally like functional.
Okay. If someone has had a vaginoplasty, well, that's not a normal vagina, is it? What if your preference is for, au natural, shall we say? I mean, that's also a genital preference, no? It's an inside-out penis. Like, let's be fucking real here. It is not a vagina. It is an inside-out penis that has been chopped up to create a simulacra of a vagina. Huh? Yeah, it's not the same thing, is it? It's literally not the same thing. It's not the same fucking genitalia. You will eat the neo-pussy, bigots. It's no longer you will suck the cock. It's you will fuck the neo-pussy and you will like it.
During sex, it's like the same thing.
Yeah, but it's like
but anyway,
meat of a penis.
What?
So they have to like it a little bit to be okay with that.
Okay.
It's well, I don't speak for personal experience on this. Okay, I don't. Just unless I get the jokes. Okay. If there's a gawk, we're hot to trot. No. Not something I've experienced. Right. But I think it's absurd to claim that someone that wouldn't want to date a trans person or have sex with them because they have had a vaginoplasty and they've had their penis reversed to create a simulacra of a vagina, okay? I think we can fairly say that if you don't like that, you're not an asshole for not wanting to participate in that. And also, like, is that what someone would want? Pull off the underwear to a freshly trim, prim neo-pussy. And you're like, okay. If I have to, I guess. Like, is that what they want? Surely a person would want someone that's actually into that, or at least willing to give it a go, passionately, not just like not begrudgingly. Not begrudgingly, surely. You will eat the Franken pussy and you will enjoy it.
Fellas, is it gay to have sex with a woman who has a vagina? Like, what are you talking about?
If they're male, maybe. Does that concern you? Are you worried that...
But it's not. It's not a vagina. It is a simulacra of a vagina.
But you'd be gay if you were with a trans woman.
No.
I mean, let's not... This is getting a bit much for me, really. But, there could be a woman that has got a vagina that looks in a way that you don't like, and that might put you off, and you might be like, no, thank you. Is that not totally reasonable? Is that not a reasonable thing that you might be put off purely by an actual vagina that doesn't look the way you like it?
It's wrong to be gay.
But I do want. But here's the thing: I do want my own biological children.
Do you think it's wrong to be gay?
No. But I am a gender abolitionist, so in my world, Like in my ideal world, gay people don't exist. You just have people who date other people.
But you still have male sex, and it's
You can still have males who
homosexual.
have you can still have males who have genital preferences for penises, and if you want to call that gay, you can. But our concept of gay would be very different than what it is now. Because right now,
But there's
being
still
gay,
sex. I don't
being
get
gay,
it.
because if you want to base your if you want to base the sexuality on the sexual parts, you can, and it's a little bit of a gray area when you're talking about sexuality in that regard. But when most people say that they're gay, they're talking about somebody who, like if they're a man, you're talking about somebody who like looks like a man, right? You're not necessarily thinking about their genitalia. You might be, but not always. So like if you want to call it like sexually gay, sure, but like I said, the concept in that world would be different.
Right. I mean,
I just think people dating other people is how it should be. Like gender and sexuality cease to exist.
But sex is still there, and people still prefer one or the other.
Yeah, and it's a genital preference, and that's fine.
Sure, I guess. I don't know. Were you
I know
like
you
worried
don't know.
about Buck's child, Buck Angel? Like, why is Buck Angel going to be a bad parent?
Because
Bro, we're all just gonna have amorphous blob sex. We're all gonna be in one. We're all gonna be in one big polycule, and all of us are just gonna have a big amorphous, weird gender freak sex with each other. That's what's gonna happen, guys. Okay, we're just gonna do what we want, dude. What like this is the thing. It's Chesterton's fence, isn't it? We've got something that exists.
Okay, that's wonderful.
And they just want to take it
But how
away
do I
without
make
realizing
money
why we've
off
got it in the
depressed
first
people?
place.
That's
right?
exactly how it was until those parts became detached from gender, though.
They give the $5.
Buck Angel's a trans medicalist, so if his child comes to him and says, "Hey, Dad, I'm trans," he's going to say, "No, you're not until you have the X, and Y procedure," and
Isn't
that's
that just
mentally
wrong
damaging.
thing? Aren't you just saying he's doing wrong thing?
He's mentally
Well,
harming.
no, like the point is, someone can express gender incongruence, right? They can say, my feeling of my sex is dissonant with what I was observed of having at birth. That can happen. Anyone could potentially express that, even a kid, okay? But becoming like trans or something like that, that's a different matter, because that's where you then have to go through some sort of process in order to be trans. Because gender incongruence could be a product of some other mental health issue or something. And this idea that you are then trans is ridiculous. And it's this affirming model that someone expresses that and then they're trans. Well, no. Maybe they've just got some sort of temporary feeling about themselves that could be a product of some other mental aspect, you know? So I just don't buy this idea that means that you're then trans. Trans is about then going through some sort of process to, go through some sort of change in your body, hormone replacement or surgery or mixture, whatever.
His child, because he's not affirming him, or because if you don't affirm trans children, you mentally harm them.
Is his child trans?
In theory, yes.
In theory?
My point is, Buck Angel would not be
in theory, but you're not.
Buck Angel.
Yeah, there's an insecurity thing as well. So this is something that, because there's been a massive upshoot in natal females presenting with gender incongruence issues, i.e., female to male, so to speak, and that there's I can't remember where I saw this, but I read something about this, and it's like the idea that puberty for a woman is like an exceptionally complicated time, more so than a man even, because you've got stuff like menstruation and stuff that happens. So this can cause a lot of mental issues and anguish, and that perhaps explains this increase, So, that can be a reason that someone is experiencing those sorts of issues. You're getting sexualized. Exactly, yeah.
Angel would not be a good parent to a trans child, and there is always a chance that you have a trans child. If you can't be a good parent for a trans child, then you shouldn't be a parent.
How do you know he'd be a bad parent to a trans child?
Because I know his stance on trans people.
Do you know him personally? Have you spoken to him?
I mean, you could easily imagine, the body changing, that resulting in attention from men, that feeling uncomfortable or unpleasant, and then feeling like you want to remove or get rid of the things, so to speak, without being, that are causing you these issues as you're experiencing them. Double mastectomy, I'm trans, I'm a trans man, whatever, and then boom, they're gone, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? That you can easily see those sorts of things occurring, in someone's life, on an individual level.
Well, I was about to one time, but it never ended up happening. So,
Oh, that sucks.
but but it doesn't matter. Like if I've personally spoken to him, he puts his opinions all over the internet.
Because you don't know him.
He puts his opinions all over the internet.
That still
I
doesn't
didn't
mean you know
personally
him.
know Hitler, but guess what? I can tell you he's probably a bad guy.
Mate, you put your opinions on the internet. I don't think I know you.
Oh, well, you don't know Hitler, so how can you know he's a bad guy?
Because of history, obviously.
Wow.
Because of the things he did.
Is Buck
and
Angel
said,
like Hitler?
Right? Because of the things he did and said.
Is Buck
That's how I
Angel
know
like
Buck
Hitler?
Angel.
How is
That's
Buck Angel
exactly
like
what I'm
Hitler?
saying. That's exactly what I'm fucking saying. You
Do you think Buck
dipshit.
Angel
You
should
fucking
like
dumbass.
shave these?
You're such a stupid piece
these
of shit.
bits?
I'm so fucking done with you. Goodbye.
Oh, bye.
Oh.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh.
Harmful opinions.
Yo.
There we go. That was a fucking waste of time. But it was kind of fun. There we go.
He ran. He
I
ran.
don't think it's possible to talk to him without him getting upset. I don't get it. Anyway.
Yo.
That was fun. Listen, I'm not gonna act like I did very well there. I probably didn't. I'm not used to this kind of thing, but like, holy.
Hey. That's actually very respectable. That is good self-awareness. That's good. I like that. Okay, that's good. That's good.
Shit. I don't know if he's live or not. Hang on. Is he live?
I mean, considering 1K subs, you know, as stated, not really into this stuff. And that was, you know, was able to hold up a conversation to some degree. Yeah. Trans win. Trans win, guys.
Ooh.
Alec got gunted. Is he going to be mad?
You don't trust doctors, though, so just don't go. If you have a heart attack,
It's not that I don't
die.
trust doctors.
Go get mental health help.
It's a bit ableist.
What?
We're ages behind.
Because Buck Angel's a trans medicalist, so if his child comes to him and says, hey, Dad, I'm trans, he's going to say, no.
Oh, trigger warning. We're talking about Hitler here. If you're Jewish, you might want to
I'm
watch.
telling you, this person has always had the good vibes. It's fine to admit that as a gender dysphoric person in the UK, you haven't been knee deep in the American argument. Yeah.
All right, you might want to keep away because we're talking about Hitler right now.
You're not until you have the X and Y. I mean,
In theory.
my no Hitler, so how can you know he's a bad guy?
Thank you, Gypsy. I to be honest, I didn't want to listen to this back almost because it's like, holy shit, you can't argue with a troll. There we go.
Because of history, obviously.
Because of the things he did and said,
Buck Angel
right?
like Hitler?
Because of the things he did and said. That's how I know
Buck
Buck
Angel
Angel.
like Hitler?
That's
How's
exactly
Buck
what I'm
Angel
saying.
like Hitler?
That's exactly what I'm fucking
I
saying.
want to see how pressed he is at the
Shit.
end.
The same thing. The whole.
You're such a
Shave these
stupid
bits,
piece of shit.
these
I'm so
bits.
fucking done with you. Goodbye.
Oh, but
Ugh. Are you saying Buck Angel's like Hitler? Dumbass.
You hate the comparison. I don't know.
Why is he getting so pressed about a 1K sub Andy? Fucking, like, what? What? Like, why are you this pressed about it, dude? What is it about? Dude, this guy. I love the. I feel like Alec is kind of like taking a bit of a beating from like all the lyric stuff that happened and other shit that happened, and he's kind of like just skulking about debating 1K sub trans YouTubers now. I don't know. It just feels a bit weird. Why is he skulking about here?
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Card posting mind raped him.
He does not look like the Avatar. Yeah.
Vosh fakes outrage for rhetorical impact. Alex actually spurgs out. I can't imagine being this bothered about this. I don't know. It seems silly.
Not understanding the point at fucking.
You're raped, Gunter. Unlucky. What time is it, bro? It's fucking 9:30.
I think he did very well. I think
Good
that was one of
lord.
my better debates. Yeah, peak troll behavior.
You got trolled.
He felt it in his bones. Yeah, probably. Well done. I have no idea how you have that much patience. Well, I went into the conversation assuming that
Okay,
she had
that's
good intentions, but
wonderful.
it turned out she
But
didn't.
how
So
do I make money off
This is something you can.
Card posting cleaned up like a shiny penny. Fast Neo Bussy.
Thank you for the 50 sec. What? You know, I don't understand. What is the complaint here?
Just know, obviously.
she's going to be dwelling on that for days. I feel like I had a pretty good comeback to everything she said. Sick. Little rage quitting weasel. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
this-
rage quit on dumbasses. I'm
This
fine with that.
Sabine person, I stopped getting back to them. I can't remember why. I don't know what they're talking about. Like, their experiences with me. This person doesn't know anything about me. But fair enough. Listen, go have your fun. Go run to Alec Gunter of all people. Oh, I'm bad faith. Mary is all bad faith. She responded to one of my old pre-transition videos. When I cited the source, she found an excuse to ignore. What is she talking? I need to look at this.
Anyway, I do think that's kind of it, really. Does he go full screen and spurg out more? I want to see him spurging out more.
I want to discuss my experience with Mary. Sent you a message in the general and Discord.
Yeah, literally, it's just someone I didn't get back to. And people were mean to this person, so they left. It wasn't even me, so I don't know.
Dude, stop being weird. You guys are weird. Stop being weirdos.
Listen, fine with that. Bitch, me there.
Days and Fridays. I'm actually on a bit earlier than I am usually, just because of Mary Chu's schedule. But usually around it's 3:30 p.m. for me, so like around 4 to 6ish. I feel like here's what I think. I think in the last debate I did with that other fucking transphobe, I think that against him I got a little bit too rowdy. I got a little bit too yelly and angry and enraged. I think that I did a good job this time of dialing that back. I got this close sometimes, but I dialed that back. I kept it reasonable.
Yeah, for like no reason. He was just getting angry for like nothing.
That is him dialed back. That's him dialed back, bro. He's acting like a little shitter at that, bro.
He's just trying to chat me. I don't know what's going on.
Rational, and then I didn't really let her have it until like toward the end there. You're so unnecessarily aggressive. People can have different opinions than you. No, you're not allowed to have different opinions than me. Goodbye.
See, at least he's honest. There we go.
Based. I love a good one, guys. You know, bro. He just straight up fucking banned that person.
That's all I wanted. Do you know why he didn't like Marcus's video? It's because he doesn't agree. His allyship is conditional. How is he going to argue that against me? It's so obvious.
People can have different opinions than you. Fuck off. I don't even want to talk.
Literally.
Yeah, we'll see it, because they won't post the other debate if they got it. I want to see it.
It's not about having different opinions. It's about having the wrong ones. She has the wrong opinions.
Yeah, how I treated Sabine in a
She has the wrong opinion. Dude. The wrong opinion? What?
Discord server? How different people with transmed. What? This person just want to cry at fucking Alec Gunter about how sad it is that someone was mean to them.
I'm glad you weren't reading chat during the debate because I was backseat debating every now and then. It's fine. Sometimes the backseat debating helps a little bit. I glanced over once because somebody had said something. I can't remember what, but I stole it from the chat. So a lot of them aren't even opinions anymore, just a denial of fact. Exactly.
The wrong opinions, harmful soy off-brand brother.
That whole thing was crazy. Also, she seemed to not know a whole lot. She seemed to know jack shit. Yeah, it always comes back to it's just my opinion. Exactly. Because you can't stand by your bullshit. So you gotta be like, well, what's up? Just a little guy. I'm just a little...
Like, he's actually like, I don't know. It's like he's actually upset by this. I mean, it's fine to like talk to your chat about it, but his whole energy, it's like he's actually bothered. Like he's like a bigger creator. Why is he so bothered by this, dude? It's fucking, no disrespect, it's a fucking 1K sub shitter. What does it matter, dude?
It's just my opinion. I just have opinions. I have
clearly got like
opinions, but they're like...
He's clearly got this massive ego. And he can't just let it stand on the fact that, in terms of an analysis of the debate, so to speak, except for like some crazy things that he said, you know, in terms of debate point for point, he probably did fairly well in terms of arguing certain points. Certainly optically, rhetorically, he looked way better because Mary kept having to say, you know, I don't know. But it's not enough for that to just sit. He's got to go with his chat and like angrily spurg about how like well he did and how bad the other person was. Dude. You can't let it just sit. You were awful, Chud. I mean, that's true, but what particularly are you referring to?
Didn't take them as fact. It's hoity-toity. It's like, what are you talking about? Do you stand by your opinions or not? Have a fucking spine. And she has the absolute fucking gall to be like, well, I feel like you're not being a very good ally right now because you're disagreeing with me. I'm like, you are such a piece of, just a disingenuous fuckwit. How dare you?
Listen, Anyone getting this tilted over someone like me, there's something wrong there. There's something wrong.
Ever noticed that ever since Chud has seen a little bit of success? Well, let's not undersell it, okay? He is all about, they only have so many subs, their opinion matters not. Well, no, the opinion of anyone can be relevant. I read chat messages that have got good opinions sometimes, and you're fucking literally nobody's, okay? I'm just saying that, you know, you should not feel as pressed about or angry about a debate that you, by all accounts, did fairly reasonably in, and getting this pressed about it. It should be more of like a, you know, that was a conversation, whatever. But he genuinely seems bothered about it to the point he's having to get to self-soothe with his chat. It's fucking crazy.
Wrong there. Like, he should not be giving a fuck. I didn't even do well by my own fucking admission.
Id pull.
Yeah, exactly.
That was my story.
Like, God, Mary. Okay, don't say anything weird. I'm saying this genuinely. Mary's actually pretty based, very self-aware. I like that. Don't be fucking weird. But Gunter is like the opposite of like lacking such self-awareness. He can't even consider reasonably what he's done. He's got this massive ego that needs to be stroked. So he sat there with his audience spurging out as he reads comments that are supporting him. Oh, God, dude. That is rough. That is rough.
From chat. Yeah, she kept saying, I don't know.
He generally didn't do well. No, what I mean is there were lots of points where Mary was like, I don't know this, I don't know that. Obviously, in terms of like actually arguing the meat and potatoes, he was all over the place and didn't reference certain studies and whatever. I'm just saying that looking from the outside in, if someone, you know, rhetorically and stuff, he would generally held the high ground, right? You see what I'm saying? But Mary, if was more knowledgeable in that conversation, Mary would have absolutely demolished him, I reckon. You know? I think the way that Mary went about it, the style, with some knowledge, would have been very dominating of that conversation.
I don't know exactly how the trans bathroom ban would work, but like we should still kowtow to transphobes in the bathroom somehow, you know, like, and in reality.
Sorry, when did I say kowtow to transphobes?
In reality, the reality of this is,
anyway,
the only way to enforce a bathroom ban is through genital checks.
Oh my God, Ember thinks that Alec Gunter has more trans audience members than I do. He has 27.5k subscribers. I have like less than 1.4. Yeah, probably he does.
Or some kind of chromosome test that you do on the spot, which I don't think exists. So genital inspections it is, right? Genital checks, okay? But we're not going to do that. So what's going to end up happening instead is people are going to start pointing fingers at everybody else saying, you're a man, you don't belong in here, you're a man. And they may or may not be trans, and it doesn't fucking matter anyway, right? And
yeah, so this is what you're signing off tacitly then, because you don't want to change anything. So what's going to happen is women are going to start having to stick up for themselves. This is just what's going to happen. I'm sorry about it, you know what I mean?
So you're going to fucking call the police, have somebody who's completely innocent and just trying to shit or piss get kicked out of a bathroom, right? Like it results in chaos. This is why I say it is just practical to allow trans people to use the fucking bathroom that they fucking want to fucking use.
Oh, that's Mary's channel if you want to subscribe.
As a trans woman, you get the official good ally seal of approval from me. I appreciate you. Really sad I'm one of the good ones.
Oh my God. Imagine, dude, reading that sort of comment out is disgraceful, man. Oh, yeah, you think I'm one of the good ones? Yeah, thanks. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm indeed one of the good ones, okay? I'm a massive ally, and I fully support, to the ends of the earth, trans individuals. Donkey Kong says trans rights.
I don't normally like sissies, but you know what? You're one of the good ones, Alec. Well, thank you.
But I'm the pick-me, I guess.
Chud, you have a huge dick and are extremely fair. Base.
Sorry, I was ignoring Sabine.
We'll just
wait, did she misgender another trans woman? Wow, that's fucked up. Sabine, let's set up if you want to set up a conversation for that, you can put a request in. Like a ticket, you can do the ticket in the Discord server. I think that I am not going to take calls like that right now because I got.
This dude has got a ticket request for. Oh my God, bro! This guy, dude. How many live viewers does he get? Let's look at the old playboard, shall we? What's his channel? Alec Gunter.
Other stuff I got to talk about. You seem to genuinely want to help so much. Yeah, I mean, you know, I have deeply held beliefs about this stuff because I'm in the medical field and I see what's happening nationwide and worldwide with trans people, and it just sucks. It sucks. That was funny. She was really dumb. I also think so. Anytime she started to get back into a corner, she pivoted to tone policing. Yeah, she really did. Thank you, Ember. I appreciate you. I appreciate you appreciating me. What I like about Alec is how I can feel how tired he is of the trans rights debate.
Bro, this guy gets like 54 average viewers on YouTube. Maybe he's streaming elsewhere too. I think he's on Twitch as well, but dude, he is very full of himself, isn't he? Yes, please submit the request through the queue.
And how exasperated his soul feels while he passionately advocating. Yeah, like, I really do try to tackle these things going in with a level head and an expectation that the other person's going to listen. Because I feel like that's the best mindset going in, even though 99% of the time the other person's
Level head. You had it here first.
just going to fucking despise you, right? But going in with that mentality is like important, because then you sound rational, you're coming off reasonable, right? You're just saying it how it is. And you let the other person kind of tear themselves down and prove that they haven't actually given like 2 seconds of thought as to the implications of like a fucking trans bathroom ban or something like that. That makes sense? And then you get frustrated.
Okay. Any other juicy bits?
Looks like now. I guarantee you that she is just trying to be a because like I was like I said, I was listening to her while I was at the gym, and she watches like Loner Box and who else?
I watched Loner Box. That was the first time I watched him, but okay.
Not transitory. Nominal Naomi. And she's just trying to stir the shit. She's just trying to be like one of the good transes that pops off because she's got like different opinions.
Pick me, one of the good transes, knew it. Anyway.
The transes, right? And I also saw, I think she's following Chudlogic, who I believe is just a drama baiter now. So, yeah, she's.
Oh,
sorry,
wait, yo, whoa, bro, dude. That's how you can really track your fame levels. Is when you randomly reference to some conversation you're not expected to. Bro, what the fuck? What am I?
Pick me, one of the good transes, knew it. Anyway.
The transes, right? And I also saw, I think she's following Chudlogic, who I believe is just a drama baiter now. So, yeah, she's. Sorry, I said transitory, and that was somebody in my chat.
Bro, I'm just a drama baiter. Dude, I'm actually a very, very considered trans ally. Do you know what's funny about that? If you don't remember, but basically Alec Gunter tried to get in and mix it up a bit with the drama lads. Okay, so he wanted to defend Tipster. So he watched Lyric's video about Tipster, obviously didn't know any of the context about it or what was going on or what the stories were or any of the details. And he just did his chud dunking. And he was like going at Lyrics, talking about him wearing a dress. If someone's got the clip, put it on my Discord and we'll play it, right? And the response to that was just a barrage of people going at him and mocking him for doing this and sounding fucking insane and crazy and like almost pedophilic in the way he was going after Lyrics. And he got obliterated so hard that he took a break from making content. And then when he came back, he was like wanting nothing to do with any of the drama people. So that's why I'm getting dismissed as a drama baiter, because it's like I'm part of the group that like was mocking him for that.
Pick me, yeah, pick me.
Oh, yeah, she said.
Yeah, Naomi's great. I had the lovely chance to meet her while we were in Yonkers. Lovely individual. Is Loner Box transphobic? No. She watches Loner Box. She was watching Loner Box, and she was like Loner Box was watching AOC, and she literally was like, yeah, he knows what to think now because AOC told him what to think. And I'm like, this is so fucking stupid. You're like such a disingenuous shitbag.
So I made a joke. I was watching Loner Box. It was watching the AOC about the bathroom ban. And I said something like, oh, Loner Box knows what to think now because AOC told him. Apparently that's bad. But I thought that was a joke.
Bro, how is he so, like, he knows so much about this person. It's insane. Like, Loner Box has been watching. Clearly. Not Loner Box, fucking Gunter. Gunter's been watching. He's a true hater. Gunter's been tracking Mary's movements, who they follow, what they're watching, what they're talking about. What the fuck? He's in there. He's tracking. He's monitoring.
Who was that person you just debated? Her name is the Mary Chew. I'm sure that she's having a nice little cope session right now. Or she moved on. Who cares either way? Oh, excuse me.
No,
thank you.
She's watching your cope session, brother. Unlucky.
New male bugman. Yeah.
Wait, what was that? Wait, what was that? This random person in the background said new male bugman. Wait.
Oh, excuse me. Perfect accent, thank you.
Beta males. Or
move to London.
Man. Yeah, something like that.
New male bugman.
New male bugman.
Wait. They know the law. The new male bugman thing. They know. That's the fucking... card posting reference. They know about intricate autistic internet lore. That's crazy.
Yeah. Aww.
Yes, I agree, G-Host. The sad fact that these things come out of the mouth of a white cis man simply hold more power in society. That is true. That's just the truth. So it's unfortunate. But
Wakanda forever!
I mean, look at the top streamers, right? Look at the top leftist streamers. Hassan Piker is a white passing cis man who's also straight. There's
Hassan Piker isn't even white. What the fuck?
Vosh, white, straight passing cis man. Destiny, white, straight passing cis man.
Yes. Wow, Gunter of the past. Wait, this happened on the 6th of December. Bro, I gotta be real with you. I'm not sure if I'd refer to Destiny as straight passing anymore with the amount of cocks he's gobbling. I gotta be honest. Destiny plugged up gobbling on cock apparently is straight passing. What the fuck? Not anymore, not anymore. Oh my god. I thought this was like a little while ago, so he wouldn't know. No, this is after all the shit that's happened. Does he know? Does he know? Does he know? It just feels like he's saying that because he wants to make that point, okay? But that's obviously absurd. That's an absurd thing to say, I think. Maybe a little while ago you could say that, but not anymore, I'm afraid to say.
Destiny's half Latino, but sure.
You know, like it seems to be a pattern. That's all I'm saying.
Probably not.
Can a cis man enter women's toilets in your view? There's a variety of wait, why'd you delete that? Why'd you delete that? That was an honest question.
Why would you go to the bedroom?
Unless they were like doing other shit. Just in case I'm gonna hide and unhide.
I know.
No.
Can a cis man enter a women's toilet? I think that's a fair question, personally. And my answer is yes. There's a variety of reasons that a cis man would want to enter a women's bathroom. And you should assume that, you know, they're not there
we're talking about wetness.
to cause problems unless they are causing problems.
I don't know if I think he's moved on. It's fine. I can't imagine talking about like white passing with a straight face, but hey, I don't know. I'll tell my Turkish friend next time I see him that he's white passing, even though he kind of isn't. Struth, Gant. Yeah. Listen, it's a process. It's a learning experience. I didn't really expect much. How is he kicking my ass? It's like over. No one's kicking anyone's ass now. Also, hi, you should subscribe to the Mary Chew. By the way, you can check my links in my description. You can... Yeah, that's the bean person. Yeah, she's gonna tell him what an awful person I am because I forgot to respond to her or something. I misgendered someone who does not present themselves in any way as female. Oh no, what terrible, terrible person I am for doing so. Do you like the skibbity toilet riz behind me? We've got some skibbity toilet riz. Yeah. Content in it. People can watch me and be frustrated that I didn't ask the question they wanted me to. Debate scam? This isn't a debate scam. I asked him to talk. I pretty much knew what was going to happen. I've covered his content before. Yeah, someone like Helen Joyce who actually knows what they're doing, you know, fair enough. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just here for the laugh, really. Yeah, that's the thing.
I do think, you know, even though I've given my takes about the debate and the points and stuff, I do think that Mary won. And I think the reason I would say that Mary won that interaction is because Gunter is so pressed about it, despite having a bigger channel and more of a profile, if you can say that, right? Like, the fact that Mary's approach and that the channel size that Mary's at caused this much psychological harm to Alec is pretty wild.
Like, I'm like nobody. Like, Jesus Christ, I didn't know it was that easy. I don't even know what I said so much that was like starting to get him riled. You're too old to get the skibbity. That's fair enough. I barely know what it is myself. I'm in my 30s. So.
problems. You know, you don't pat.
There we go.
And then I'll see if I can do some other reacts so that Dubsy. All right.
Is he like shaking? Oof. No, he's like shaking.
Is he shaking?
He was like shaking. Can you see him?
Is he?
But I will later.
Can you see?
No, that's a camera thing, isn't it?
Vibrating.
All right. I am going to go to the bathroom real quick.
I don't think he's doing this. I think he's moving his leg like
I
this.
feel a bit bad now. He started with that whole thing. Oh, the Thank you, Justin. I appreciate that. Listen, I'm not
Totally
acting like,
feased.
oh, I won the debate or some shit. This is just a bit of fun, honestly. It's interesting. It's interesting to see what these people. Oh, thank you. Let's watch Lily Tino harassing some ESOL underpaid server, who is a terrible person for misgendering a beautiful trans woman. Let's be real. Oh, I have self-hate.
Okay.
Oh,
Anyway,
and she replied. I
I
sent her.
think that's it. I think that's it. I need to. It's nearly 10 o'clock, dude. What the fuck? Dude, people were surprised that I got all into that. But we got there. We did it. We did the whole thing. I thought that was quite fun in the end. There was a couple of moments where I thought about giving up, but we did it. But yeah, I will. I'll endeavour. Maybe listen, guys. As long as you promise to not be fucking weird about it, okay? With your gobbling jokes, nor your transphobia. Maybe we can have a relaxed conversation on stream, okay? And it'd be chill. And I don't have to fucking be contentious like I always am with people. But you guys have got to be not weird, okay? I'll let you ask some weird questions. I'll let you ask some funny questions when I throw out for questions, okay? Well, maybe that. I just think that I just, you know, not to do the one of the good ones shit, that's stupid. But it's quite rare, I feel. Like, I feel like there's a lot of trans people that do want to have this cope, especially the progressive ones. And there's this cope surrounding the whole situation. And it's like, I think I am more so aligned with the idea of like a more, like, male. You could be a trans woman, but you're still a male. And I think I relate with that concept a lot more than the idea that a trans woman is literally a woman. You know? What is the argument for that? What was that Vosh debate? Maybe I need to watch that at some point. Probably not on stream, but you know, with the Aqua thing, when that guy was arguing about it. No, I just think, you know, it makes more sense to me than trying to force the idea that a trans woman is a woman. Who even argues that? What, that trans woman is a woman? Progressives have turned what should be just a political slogan to push for the idea that trans women should be treated with respect to unironically trying to state that a trans woman is a woman. That is something they argue. I mean, Gunter did in that exact debate.